Yeah. I'm at Race Church Road. I went to Waynesboro to bring this man down to this address, and now he's trying to force his way into a house. I'm afraid to move my vehicle. They're fighting in there.
It's inside the house now?
Yeah.
You have your doors locked?
It's open. I'm in a van.
You need to make yourself safe, okay? Even if you've got to drive away from there to get away from him and close that and lock that door. Do that for me now, please.
Okay, wait a minute.
Okay, and boom, live again. Let me just say that, live again.
Hello. Can I just say something really quickly? While you guys say the hellos and introduction, I just need to be right back. One of my sons needs for 1 second. I'm so sorry. Be right back.
It's okay, all good. Anyways, yeah, so this live was going to be on Friday. And then Alexza, she wants to tell you the reason why I didn't. But anyways, we're doing it tonight instead. And so anyways, yeah.
I
Welcome
think,
to the live.
I'm really glad that we waited until Monday because, a few other things have come out about this over the weekend that I want to hear Alexa's opinion about. So,
Yeah.
And we had a good live Friday. For anyone that is, I'm sorry if anyone's tired, but stop being old.
Callie. Like, come on, chick. I know you work hard, but work hard, play harder.
Right. Remember when, we would randomly just go live at 2 a.m.?
Yeah. I would totally do stuff like that. If my husband slept in a different room, but I'm not going to have that right yet. Maybe give me a few more, 10 more years, and maybe I'll kick him off to another room at some point. But as for now, no. But he gets up early. I am so a night owl. That's really when I do my work. It was when I cleaned and when I did my work. I enjoy the downtime, the peacefulness, the traffic outside is, not so thick, and you don't hear the horns and car beeps going off, and you don't hear people, and it's just silence. I like that. I like it when it's just silence. So let's just sit here and
I'm a night owl when I have to say, in the last couple of months when I've been spending a couple of days of the week at taking care of my niece. For anyone that has children, it's exhausting running after a 1-year-old.
Oh, you don't got to tell me twice. I'll tell you.
I'm I'm thinking, oh yeah, it's just babysitting. And then you're by the end of the day, you're
it's not. Most people, to be honest with you, besides the fact that motherhood is very rewarding, honestly, if in a sense, you would almost rather go to work, and because it is very exhausting looking after children. So if I only had one, and that's well, I took care of Haley too for a couple years there, and it's just a lot of work. It's just simply is.
Because they don't have a because they don't have a pause button. And there are days I definitely tell my niece, Sloan is her name, that I'm like you're lucky that you're actually cool, because this would suck if you were not fun.
I know it's one of those things, and that's why when for me, and a lot of guys never really appreciate it. They really don't. A lot of guys don't, because
Yeah.
if they're not the ones, even though more guys
This-
are staying home now, hey,
yeah,
but
I don't think it comes. I don't think it comes biologically as instinctive and as natural to men as it does to women. You know,
correct.
but
It's
there's
just
also 10 months that you're
here, yeah,
you
pregnant,
carry the child.
yeah. It's, I mean, it's just a whole different perspective of it, really. But typically, I mean, nowadays you can take off 2 years, or you can split it with your husband and take,
Yeah.
yeah, like, here you can.
Mm.
So it used to be a year, that you would take off or whatever, but now you can actually take 2 years, and you can split it with your husband, and you take a year, he take a year, and stuff like that. So I appreciate those improvements for sure. But
Is it paid?
yes.
Wow.
Maternity leave, right?
Wow.
So I know we'll get to Rex Heuermann in just a bit here, but again, but it's exhausting. Bottom line is, there's times that you just go, you know what, I would rather just go to work and make him have to, like my ex-husband, have to experience what it's like to stay home all the time, go work a part-time job on top of that after looking after your child all day, and then get told that
Mm.
you don't do anything, and stuff like that. Well, he would go to work, come home, put his butt on the computer and watch TV or whatever. And then you know what I mean? And then he would
Right.
complain that I wasn't giving him enough time.
Right. And I think also, I know we need to move on, but I think also I've noticed that, I think, the whole like phenomenon of mom guilt, it's real. And I think that affects
Absolutely.
men, and I don't think it affects men the same way.
No.
I think men are able to compartmentalize their responsibilities in their life. And,
Yeah.
I think that, when mothers are away from their kids for any period of time, I do think they feel like this sense of abandonment or guilt. And,
Well,
that's so unfortunate, because, I mean, there's no harder job in the world than raising a child.
it's true. I mean, we're the ones that hatch those little things, you know. They spend basically 10 months in our stomach. And so we're the ones that feel the kicking. We're the ones that feel everything. We feel our bodies go bing, 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 bong, And so, yeah, so there is, like me, like I said, and like, imagine the caveman days, But at the end of the day, I just simply wanted to be able to raise our son, and not toss him off into some sort of kitty care and stuff like that. I wanted to make, it's kind of like when you don't have something as a child and you want to give that to your child because you didn't like the fact, like I didn't like the fact that my mom was trying to raise us after she left our dad. And you have that, that feeling of you just want your mom to be able to come to your concerts, to come to all those things, and she never could, So that's why for me, and like I know CD and Alexa as well, our priorities are our children first, in a sense, because yeah, I mean, you know,
I mean,
they're the
I'm not a
ones that you're
parent.
trying to go ahead.
I'm not a parent, but I mean, I'm definitely getting a crash course in some of
Yeah,
that. And,
it is very tiring.
more respect for, and understanding for it than I did 6 months ago.
Yeah. And honestly, Adam, right? Unless somebody's lived in somebody else's shoes like that, they don't really grasp it. And that's why it's even though when you do have your own child, it's still a different feeling on top of what you're saying, because it's just like for me, it's like that little thing that I created,
Right.
type of thing with my ex-husband, that you created this little hatchling out of there, this little monster.
The good thing I will say is that, I'm kind of leasing, so even if I
Yeah.
like mess it up, I can just hand her back over, and then I can trade her in.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Alexa,
I'll just
oh, look at this. Alexa, she's so
Hello,
hot.
I am melting, like literally. I was outside. I keep running back. Oh my god! But I think I should have.
right. And
Oof! I am like melting, like
Alexa, I
literally
know
melting.
how you did it with twins, but that's a whole
Mm,
different.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
was
night. That's a
listening.
topic for another night, I'm sure. But
I know.
mm,
Well, you've been doing good. You've been doing
yeah.
good. So at least
So,
you kept her
Alexa,
alive. So that's a good thing.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I'm not sure if you want to say. I only had said earlier, I think in the other live, that you were having like personal issues, but it was like,
Oh
if
yeah,
your mom.
sorry about Friday. I had to take my mom to the hospital because she had for a while. She's been every time she eats, she gets she keeps saying that she can't swallow, and
Yeah, having a hard time
she
swallowing.
left it like that. But on that particular day, we went out for dinner, and then she was like, I was looking at her and she couldn't breathe. She was like gasping for air. And she was like, I'm fine, I'm fine. And, my dad is my stepdad. He's a pilot. So he's actually was on the last leg of flying to Europe. So I said, no, you know what? Why don't you come with us and stay with us? And they were like, okay. So she came. And when I was making the bed, I would hear her, like I heard her in the bathroom, like she was like, so I
Yeah,
said no. I said, you know what? And I was like really torn up because I was like, okay, how can I do? Because I knew I had to live, and I'm like, how can I do it? I said, can Dimitri go? But I know she wouldn't went, and if he took her. So I said, stay with the kids. I said to Sonny, I'm so sorry, I have to cancel. And we went. Oh my God, we were like 8 hours in the stupid ER. It was so packed. Friday night, of course, everybody decides to go. But finally, and they said that she had a hiatal hernia, and she had surgery this morning. And thank God she's doing so far so good. So she's doing good. So
good.
that's
Yeah.
where she is. So hopefully, I don't think she's getting out tomorrow, but hopefully Wednesday.
Oh.
Well,
I keep
I was
thinking
gonna say
today's
praise
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So.
No, today's Monday.
No, today's Monday. I kept thinking the whole day that it was Tuesday. I was like, it
No,
was Tuesday. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Yeah, no,
I was
but
gonna
it's
say, did I
Monday.
miss a day? I've been known to miss a few days. I've been known not to even remember what
You've
day it
you've
is.
been known to miss like 5 days.
Anyway, because when I talked to Alexza last, I thought she was just saying that her mom was having whatever issues, not
Mm-hmm.
breathing. I should have said, yeah, I knew it was swallowing.
Yeah, like that's what I thought.
Yeah,
I thought it was like a breathing thing, but anything that goes with the breathing, you're thinking maybe a heart attack or
yeah,
something. So I
yeah,
just didn't want, and that's what I was thinking. I never even thought about that she would have had anything with her throat. So
yeah. But I'm glad she's under repair now.
yeah,
And
thank you.
I,
He must be.
yeah, and just while we're on the topic though, so just because we're talking about, of course, Rex, I think, hey, I know his name isn't said Heuermann. It's like Heman.
A lot of people
Heuermann.
say Heuermann. A lot of other
Heuermann.
people say Heuermann. I
Yeah.
think it's Heuermann.
Heuermann?
Heuermann is Heuermann.
Heuermann. Well,
Well,
I remember the lawyer saying it, and it was a little bit different than how I was saying it. But you know what? I'm just going to stick with Heuermann, buddy. I don't care if
I
I
like
butcher your
Heuermann.
name or not. Yeah. So I'm just going to go
Rex.
with it. But you said you were at the hospital, and that somebody said that they
Yeah,
worked
we
with
were at
Rex's
when
wife.
we were at the ER. Somebody said that they had worked, but I don't even know if it's true because honestly, I didn't even look anything on the wife yet. Somebody had said that she worked with the wife, with Rex's wife at the, but I didn't understand if it was at the clinic or at the hospital. But I think it was at the hospital, LIJ, Long Island Jewish Hospital. And they said that they said that she's very nice lady. They said that she's very nice. She's very how does she say? She said she was very warm, but she was very quiet. She said that she wasn't the
Right.
type of person that she was very gossipy, or she would, they said that even when they had like parties and everything, like she never would go, but she would
Right.
participate, like if it was somebody's birthday or whatever. I don't know how long, because
well,
this lady was like blobbing and blobbing, and I was like so tired. I was like, and half of it was she was talking to somebody else. I was like eavesdropping, and she said that the only thing that she did say is that this guy apparently picked her up for a while. Like I don't know if she didn't have a car or something, and he drove her to work or something. And they have seen him, and the lady said, but I don't know how true that is, because sometimes we get conditioned after something happens, because she said that she thought he was a monster. And she even said that she went home that day and she told her husband that she thought that he was like a monster. Like that was the words that she used. She was like so scared of him. But apparently she didn't say much about her, obviously, about her marriage, but she said that they had been married for a long time and they seemed like a happy family. So
I'm sure he was happy.
Well, I mean, even as a profiler, Alexa, I mean, that would track with stereotypically with men like Rex, from what we know. Usually, their partner would exhibit those types of traits, I believe. You know, like, you know, being warm and trying to be engaged, but yet having a wall up and being withdrawn, and there being those signs of control that, you know, like, and picking, you know, men picking their wives up or girlfriends up from work and taking them to work is a telltale sign of control.
That's actually something that she said that when he one of the afternoons, I don't know if it was for a couple of days, she didn't say, and honestly I didn't ask. And she did say, now you remind me of that, she did say that when she was picked up one day, like she was late, like they were talking but they could see the car, and he literally drove in. It was like a horseshoe, drove in, and like she didn't come out, and he started like beeping.
Right.
And it's a hospital, so everybody was like, you know, and everybody was like, even the security came, was like, man, like what's going on? And she said that she got really nervous, and she was just like, I gotta go, and she just left. Like, so that was the only thing that she said, that it was like a red flag for her. And but that was about the only thing, which, like I said, this is not my, this is not a source, you know, hearsay. So I don't know if it's true or if not. That's what she said. And I don't even know what she did. I thought she was an accountant. Somebody else told me she was an accountant. So I don't know what she did.
Well, maybe she worked in the administrative department.
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. But this is what she had said, and it made me think. You know, it made me think back, and then I was thinking about the whole question about, and I even told my husband, I said, the difference between, not that I should even put them, but I'm just, I couldn't help putting them both in the same position, was Kathy and now Asa. I was like, what a difference. Like, this one finds out and immediately files for divorce, and the other one still, you know, even though he claimed to allegedly confess, you know, she's still sticking by him. So I don't know.
Yeah, well,
but like you said, I think the signs, I think now she's going to go through the signs, and a lot of things that, looking back, she's going to be like, how I didn't see that. Like, how can you have a room in your house and not open it? I told my husband, I will the minute my husband says, don't look at something, I am on top of that thing, because it makes me more curious. What are they hiding?
I was, you know, the thing is that, like, because she is getting, you know, filed for the divorce and all that. And it's honestly, she's going to, she's going to be questioning, like the kids are, to everybody. Everyone that even knows him is going to be questioning, like, especially her, what was real, Asa, like, what, like, her whole, the kids, like, it's just like everything is, you don't even know what to believe anymore.
Right.
You know,
well,
what was true.
Lord knows what their reality was like day to day. I mean, they might have been conditioned so far into the point of submission in a way, you know, where, you know, it was an eggshell walking situation all the time.
Perhaps. But, you know, I always find it, you know, I always find it very interesting, these people that lead these double lives. But especially when it's a double life like this, it's one thing to have an affair and have a double life. And it's another thing to commit homicides and then go back to your regular life, as if, again, I'm not an SK, so I wouldn't know how the brain must work beyond those people. It's just, you know, that's why for the BTK's daughter, that's Carrie. Yeah. It's just, when she was speaking on Court TV, the one day last week, it really impacted me as she was speaking, because some people forget about that part of it, about, like, her, when she heard about it, and that because of the media and because of the shock, you know, she had to spend a week in the hospital, because like, her body, of course, you know what I mean, you know, when your body is just, say, like, I've had it before, where it has the shakes and it's uncontrollable, because, you know, it's almost like your mind's not telling your body to stop shaking or something. But listening to her was very impactful, I thought, when I was listening to her, because you know, she was saying even to this day she has PTSD, and that moment for her that she was told, it's like embedded in her head, it ingrained in her head everything that was going on. And you know, like again, the life gets flipped upside down, and all these innocent people that become victims, besides the victims, becomes victims of him because
Right.
they were just so clueless, most, you know, to the fact that this guy, just like anyone living there, the neighbors in this dilapidated red home, that this person could do such a thing. What do you guys think? I don't know. It just really hurts me when I'm listening, like, to Carrie and just thinking about his wife and the children, and now the stuff that they have to think through and go through, and
Right.
you
Well, and
know.
I think a lot of people probably see a lot of similarities between BTK. Well, I think even BTK said something about how this guy sounds just like me. And
Oh, he said
I
that it
think,
was a clone of him, but I mean,
I mean, but there are, I mean, a lot of people I think probably see the similarities between you go on for a decade living this double life,
mhm.
with, some of the facts that we know from those documents. Um, I don't feel like it would have been as difficult to find Rex Heuermann as it was, when we know, the witness description of him in the vehicle.
Well,
Right.
I mean, later on, we're going to get to that because I do have a lot about to say. Because I
Okay.
told you, I have followed this case for over 10 years, and there's many holes in that story. And maybe later on, we'll talk about it. But that story that he's saying now is not true.
The
So
Hussein.
part of it is true, but it's not the way he's saying it now.
The story of who's saying now?
Dave was Amber Costello's roommate. So now he claims that he saw Rex, that he even came face to face and they almost punch each other, and that he was the one who told police. But that's not how the story goes. I mean, he and
Yeah.
Bear and Bjorn, I think it's his name, Bjorn. They call him Bear. The reason police didn't take them seriously was because basically Bear and Dave were Amber Costello's basically pimps,
Pimps.
basically,
Yeah.
and they were addicts. So, oh God, I don't even know if I have one. And they were addicts. Oh yeah, I do have. And they were addicts, and okay, they were
Yeah.
addicts. And what
Okay.
happened was that they
Oh,
had pulled that.
1 sec, Alexa.
Mhm. Oh, the music I didn't hear. Sorry.
$1.99. Thank you.
Thank you, Daisy.
Throwback Plaza.
Thank you, Daisy.
Kiss mark.
Well, that's
Lipstick.
old.
Smiley cat face.
Sorry, Alexa, go on.
No,
Thanks,
it's
Daisy.
okay. Sorry, I didn't hear it. I'm like deaf today. No, so basically what happened was that they wanted to pull that stunt of coming in and what she was doing the deal with him, so she wouldn't have to sleep with him to get the money. One pretends to be the boyfriend and then runs
Right.
outside, and basically she doesn't have to sleep with him and gets to keep the money. So if we go by that, then makes you wonder, because of this stunt, is this the reason that she got killed? If we're going to play like that. But anyway, so what happens is that they play that stunt. Amber was with him in her house. One of them, I think it was Dave, comes in, and when they see how big he is, they were like, oh, okay, but Rex left anyway.
Right.
But he was furious, and he texts Amber and says, hey, that's
owe
not
me.
nice what happened. You owe me. And I don't know how he was able to convince her not to bring the phone and to meet her at an X location. I don't know the location. Apparently and allegedly, they believe it was his house. I don't know. I don't have proof. I can't say it, but they do believe
Right.
it was her. It was his house. So the next day, she leaves her cell phone behind and goes and meets him, and she's never heard. So the story goes that way after, Bjorn is the one, Bear is the one that says, hey, by the way, we got to see this guy, but it wasn't just him. We got to see this guy, and it was big, and that whole thing, it was true. But the fact that he said that it was only him that saw him, that's not true. There were two people that saw him, and they did see the car, and the car, But the reason the police didn't take them serious was because of unfortunately, the reputation. And I know it shouldn't matter, but I guess they were like, oh, what does these people know? And I guess if they would have put attention, maybe they would have found him sooner, but whatever.
I would speculate that when they appointed the independent investigators to this case, or I can't remember the special task
Harrison,
force, to this case last year, I bet they took notice of the
That's what it was. That's exactly what it was. The car was one of the things that said that stood out.
First generation Avalanche, there were not.
And
I mean there were not that many in that in the Long Island area at that time that would then match someone that was 6'4".
And also, but the thing is, that one, I don't believe that one. They described it green. I believe was the brother's one, because the brother has an exact the same car.
He gave it to the brother.
Okay.
He gave the green one to his brother and drove it down to Chester, South Carolina, and left it with his brother. Yeah. Which is why then he bought the black one.
Mm-hmm. So I hope that because I believe that the one that they saw wasn't the black one, was the green one.
The green one.
Hopefully they will do it. I'm sure because of the whole thing, they're probably gonna impound it, and they're probably gonna go and do DNA testing and everything.
They already did.
Oh, they already did. I haven't followed the case.
They did the black one and the green one.
When did they do the green one?
Was that Thursday or Friday last week?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I am behind.
Oh, did you not see the cage they got from South Carolina too?
No.
Well, that's in the clip we're about to watch.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's watch the clip and then we'll come back to talking about it. It's about 5 minutes long, this one.
Right. Fibro, his brother looks just like him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so I'll play this.
And this was from tonight, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oops. Did I make it bigger? There we go. And then we'll hit play.
Backyard, they're looking for evidence, clues, maybe even keepsakes. I have some experts who can tell you into the kinds of things that they have found in the past. Now, last week, as you saw, we've been going into this. There's also something out there, though, okay? There is this idea that, well, they got this guy. He had like a Silence of the Lambs thing going on in his basement. I don't think that's true. And I don't think you have to fly in the direction of the most obvious nature of an investigation. They have to make the case beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm not saying that they can at this point because there's so much smoke in the air about this particular suspect. But there's a difference between him building an over-fortified gun safe and having a room where he did Silence of the Lambs stuff. Let's bring in former FBI agent and News Nation Law and Justice contributor Jennifer Coffindaffer and forensics analyst, Professor Emeritus, John Jay College of Criminal Science, Larry Kobolinski. Good to have you both. In Coffindaffer, you disagree with me? There's no reason for the cops to say, no, we don't know anything about any vault. If they had found something like that down there that came across like a killing room.
I agree with that, Chris, but I don't necessarily agree that this wasn't a situation where he terrorized these women, took them back to his house, maybe even kept them in cages. Recall that is what was on the search warrant for South Carolina. Recall we have a photo of that cage being taken away and other accoutrements that were asked for regarding caging. And so I'm not so sure he didn't keep them alive for some period of time, strictly based on that we're seeing.
100%, but two things can be true at once. I'm saying the idea that's all over the internet and the real crime TikTok people saying he had a killing room. The cops came out and said, not that we know of, some soundproof room that was for that. So there's no reason for the cops at this stage in this investigation to be lying about what they're finding. But there's obvious indication that he may have taken him back to the house. It does raise questions again, though, about the wife, and not to throw dirt on her, Jennifer, and then I'm going to go to Dr. Kobolinski. But that the idea that you live with somebody for so many years who's made such efforts and you know nothing, when, as we know, spouses tend to know what's going on, whether they want to deal with it or not. What's your take on that, Jennifer?
My take is he kept law enforcement not knowing about him for 10 years. This guy was manipulative. I have no doubt that he had a canned answer for everything his wife might have asked him that, of suspicious activities that he could easily explain. I think he controlled that house, and he controlled the women and the children in that house. And I don't think there were questions asked.
And look, there's absolutely been no suggestion from law enforcement that the wife has any role in this at all to date. And the only thing we know about her is that she filed for divorce almost immediately when this came up. Now, Dr. Kobylinski, look at the tea leaves for us. What kinds of things are they looking for? Do you believe it's relevant, as Coffin Daffer does, that they would take cages, or that they take anything that they can to test?
Well, serial killers tend to take things from their victims as a memory. They call it a trophy or a souvenir. It could be clothing. It could be jewelry. It could be body parts. Look, the BTK killer used to take driver's licenses. And what they do is they keep these things and they look at them 5, 6, 7, 10 years later, and they relive the excitement of the kill. So that's the kind of thing that they're looking for. They're looking for remains. There were 3 canine dogs brought to the backyard. These dogs can sniff out decomposition, even if the ground has not been disturbed, because the chemicals rise up into the air and the dogs can detect it. But of course, they had heavy equipment. They had a backhoe. They had ground penetrating radar. And the way that works is it looks at the soil, and it establishes a uniform basis. In other words, it's homogeneous until you hit an area that is a discontinuity or a deviation from homogeneity. And at that point, they know they have to dig there. They don't know what they're digging up, but they have to dig there.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com.
Used to take.
Okay, and we're back again. Let's see here. Okay. Your guys' thoughts on that? Shit.
I mean, like I said, I don't always agree with Jennifer Coffin Dopper, but I agreed with almost everything she said in this in this clip. I know Chris Como is not everyone's cup of tea, but I thought this was a nice little tidbit from today that came out. So
yeah, and they also did say that so that the soundproof room and the vault got misconstrued somewhere.
Right.
That it's not a soundproof room. That was a vault.
The New York police have come out and said that got misconstrued, and it was not a soundproof room or a vault. But then I've heard workers say it was.
Hold on. Sorry, can I interrupt you? Can I be right back? Okay, I'm so sorry. It's just my son is in pain. I have to give him some medication. So I'll be right back. I'm so sorry. I apologize.
It's okay. Yeah, the cage was in South Carolina, right?
Yeah, sorry, CJK. Did they show the cage in this clip, or was that a different?
Yeah, they showed it in the back of the semi.
Yeah. So so I'm hearing conflicted things on the soundproof room thing. I mean, I will say the police have no reason to not be truthful. So I believe that if the police say there was no soundproof room or vault, that it probably was an over exaggeration. I've heard that it could have been a makeshift gun safe basically room. So I mean, I'm gonna side with the fact that the police have no reason to come out and say something that isn't true if it's not so.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I'm gonna side with
Shelly says, why South Carolina? Rex owned 3 parcels of land adjacent around the area that his brother owned land in Chester, South Carolina. And so they've started they got a search warrant, and they have been retrieving things from from his land in South Carolina. He also had a timeshare in Las Vegas. but South Carolina is more interesting to me. Plus, Rock Hill Police in South Carolina have reopened, or not reopened, but they're taking a look at one specific missing female, which I want to talk about when Alexza comes back, because I wanted her opinion on this. But she doesn't necessarily fit the demographic of some of the other victims, but I was curious about that.
Which one?
The one in South Carolina, because she's a young African American female, and none of the other known victims are African American. So I just kind of wanted Alexza's opinion on switching up the the victim profile.
South Carolina, that was just land, right?
It was land. He had if you look at the pictures, there were parcels, there were tarps on it. He had stuff on the property, but no buildings that I know of.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
But his brother did have buildings on his.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Alexza, we were just saying, is everything okay?
Yeah, it's just he's been having his foot hurts since earlier, and he can't now. He was sleeping. He fell asleep where I was, so I said, "Okay, stay here with me." But now he was like grunting, and he's like, "I'm in pain. I'm in pain." So I just give him some medication, some Tylenol.
You know what? I'm gonna do actually.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play my video without sound that I did earlier today, and that way, as we're talking, then you guys can watch it, because it does have the different things going on, of them in the backyard, and then the excavating one. So I'm just gonna pull up that video, play it as we're talking, in a sense. So what did you want to ask Alexza there?
Alexza, I have they are looking at some cases in like South Carolina where he has land, and so I was saying that the victim that they're looking at, Rock Hill, South Carolina police, and I can't remember her name. I apologize, but she's a black female. So how common would it be, if there's a connection to Rex, that he would change his victim profile from the victims that, I know there was an Asian male in New York. So would it be unheard of that he could have changed?
No, they can.
Black female?
Yeah. Usually, that's how they start, right? A lot of them, they start with SA, and they just gradually start changing their MO. Some of them, start breaking through the window. But then they find that's too complicated. So they just started friending the victim. So their MO can change. It's not one particular. And as they evolve, it kind of, it gets to a point that they get a rhythm that they make, I guess when they perfection it and they make it, it works for them. Somebody that has unalive people that many times, it gets to a point that they just make it like a routine kind of thing.
Okay.
So yeah, but could it be possible that this girl fits the description? Yes, especially if she falls into. I think he was into petite. I think that was his whole thing. That was almost like he's saying he likes them petite. So if they find a girl, like a bigger bone girl or taller, I don't think it would fit. I haven't heard, so I don't know exactly.
Okay.
But was this girl petite? Did they say anything? Or in the same style too? They can change styles, but usually they stick to their same style.
She was petite. Okay. I can't remember all of the circumstances. But she fit a lot of the victim profile, other than the fact that she's African American or black. And I think it was 2014 she went missing. And I think there are a couple other people that they're also looking at. Which, I feel like ultimately at the end of the day, even if there's no connection to Rex, any adjacent unsolved crime that gets renewed interest in is a positive thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course it is. Now they have to look at every case.
I feel like just people knowing about these cases is going to be beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's going to bring awareness it's going to bring awareness to it's going to bring awareness to the new cases, especially that people felt that because they were ladies of the night, they didn't, a lot of people didn't pay attention to them. So I think this is going to be really refreshing for all those old cases that, they had in the back burner and they didn't have a clue. I mean, I think it's probably pretty possible that he was active because I don't think he stopped. So, and usually, the other ones I say, okay, no, but this one, why would you have a burner phones? Just for that. And if he hasn't, no, I think he probably did something between 2010 and now. Well, and if he didn't, I think he was planning on doing it, but he most likely probably did something.
Think about also the fact that, he's 59 years old. So, if you're 59 years old, you graduated high school in what? Is that 83?
81.
81. So,
yes. Yeah.
Not only is the question did he stop, but, what did he do before 2009 or 2000?
How did he start?
And 10. Mm-hmm. So, most SKs that go this big don't start in their 40s.
No.
So, think of the task that law enforcement have of going over where he was at all times throughout his life, leading up to this, and what crimes possibly could coincide with that.
Well, because it started in 1996.
Right. And, we've talked about whether that could be multiple perpetrators or a singular one.
Well, like I said, most people don't.
But they're going to have to go over this guy's entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sadly, digital data and all this new, ground detecting sonar and just regardless, cell phone pings, all that stuff, unfortunately, didn't come in time till quite a lot later.
Right.
And,
look at that. Look at that cellar door. As soon as I saw that part of your video, Sunny, I was like, "Oh, it's even like that creepy old style,
like a creepy old cellar door." Yeah. I don't think that the wife had a clue. I applaud her though for acting on the divorce right away and realizing that, you know what, like, you sick piece of, I think that the evidence is clearly staring her in the face, and she knows, like I said, she's going to be going over her entire life with him about
she's now free to testify to anything she wants.
Yeah.
Not that she couldn't before, but I personally feel that one of the reasons Kathy Allen probably, I'm speculating, but is staying with Richard Allen is that she can't be forced to testify to certain things as the spouse of the person on trial.
That, and I think another reason is also money, because Richard Allen didn't have money and they didn't have assets to protect. In this case, they do have a little bit of money, and so she wants to, by divorcing him, she is going to be able to protect at least her part of the assets. So if anybody comes back and sues him, it only sues him from the half of the money from her. So that's why she did it so quickly, because otherwise, she loses the money. So smart woman too.
And it makes a statement as well that that you are not in line with this and that you don't condone it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly, Alexa, Daisy's asking, is it rare or common to change up signatures? That's a good question, Daisy.
It is not rare. They do. Like I said, it's almost like their MOs. They do at the beginning, and it's whatever their work. But I think when they establish a signature, especially like the big ones, they just don't change it. Like the ones that, for example, like the smiley face, something that is so recognizable, they will not change. Or another
Right.
one that would leave like the marks, because they, then anybody can claim the work or can say that somebody they want to. But the thing with this case is they like to say, hey, they like taking credit for it, and they like notoriety. They like, this is why BTK, every time there's another case, he comes and he inserts himself, and that drives me crazy that people even give him the platform to do that, because I think at this point he's so irrelevant. He's
Right.
Yeah.
relevant for people like me or people that study criminology, but the
Right.
news and regular people, unless you're interested in. But why are we giving him a platform every
Right.
time he does the same thing? And that's what they like. That's what they enjoy, because it makes them relive.
Right.
Everything with them is reliving what they did.
Right. Well,
And
like
they
contacting the sister, contacting the family members. I mean, that to me is an example of the fact that this guy was not ashamed of what he did. This guy wanted to relive the high that he felt when he committed these crimes, and the closest he could get, in between his homicides was the high he would probably feel when he was terrorizing their family members for the horrific things that their loved one went through, because it's all an example of dominance and control.
You know what, Adam?
I have this power, you don't.
Yeah, and it's so strange because as we're talking about this, my old boss at the optical place that I worked at, he was an absolute narcissist, just like Heuermann, in the same way. Meaning, no offense, but he was quite the Humpty Dumpty as well, and the he enjoyed, like, although he was good to us, he was still a full-on narcissist. You know what's really hard when you see someone that's like a Humpty Dumpty and they're not attractive, and you're just like, and you see the
I'm pointing at
bull,
Rex. Oh.
yeah, right through them. And he enjoyed, okay, so I'm just gonna say this. In Canada, my old boss, okay, it's nothing to do with a homicide. But he was, I think, fined $117 million. It was the biggest fine ever in Canada. Why? Because he kept opening up optical places and franchising them, and he kept breaking the law in Ontario. And you're supposed to have a licensed optician, like an optician on, and he just kept breaking the law, breaking the law. So he ended up going to jail for a year. Okay. Again, someone that's just so narcissistic. And his wife, ended up doing 6 months because of having the kids, ended up doing like 3 kids, having a bracelet on her ankle for six months. Okay. They ended up moving here over to British Columbia because in British Columbia, you don't need to have a licensed, like an optician. And I said, well, you don't need to have that because anyone can do a prescription. Anyways, if there was any sort of way that he could screw the government out of money, or screw, like, if, say, for instance, if anyone in his family got a ticket to go to the police, to get their fine, Bruce would walk in there with his suitcase, and he enjoyed, literally, putting his, like, I don't know how to say it, but he enjoyed uh, going to court and getting himself off, other people off. He took a lot of just joy in it. And you know what was hilarious to me was the day after my last day was there, because sales were down for the last 3 or 4 months, and me and Omri were basically the weakest links. And well, Omri was going to be going to school for something, and at the end of the day, the other people had a lot more experience and knowledge over myself. So I had lost my job last August at the end of it. So I think August 31st was my last day, but I can't remember how the weekend went. But bottom line is, the day after I left, a truck, I'm talking to one of the people that still work there, because we were really good friends. And a truck pulls up from the workman's compensation board and literally starts taking out boxes and starts packing up all of the glasses. And the reason why, so our boss deemed us as self-employed. Okay. Um, Bullshit. We weren't self-employed. Self-employed means that we are working for ourselves, that we create our own schedules and do stuff like that. No, we followed a schedule. The reason why he deemed us as self-employed is because he didn't want to do all the hoopla that it takes when you have employees and then you have to pay into WCB and all this stuff. So there was somebody that was working, obviously, that he pissed off because she went over to labor relations and then they sent WCB and all that into our employment. And Bruce would always get like this freaking Revenue Canada stuff or Revenue Canada calling and stuff like that. But anyways, so um basically he owed, I think, over $25,000. So again, the narcissism in him, the just the ego stuff, you know. Like it's so weird because he was a really he's a really nice guy and he did a lot of good things for us, you know, and I appreciated that, but I saw right through him who he was. And it was just one of those things that, again, you know, you picture this big guy that anyone would deem as like a freaking, you know, big, I'm sorry, but like a big blob geek in a sense. Nothing attractive, nothing to stare at, you know, with his red, blue, whatever glasses that he had on that day. And he walked with such, you know, like he was the bomb, like he was the shit. And it just always made me laugh because beyond that, he reminded me, like, when I think of Rex Heuermann and the way that that my boss portrayed himself, it's those same traits of narcissism. Oh, here, let me uh, go back to about here. I'll just do that again. But, you know, so like I said, I'm sure that Rex Heuermann had exactly those same traits that my boss does, although my boss wasn't out there committing, you know, homicides and stuff like that. But it's just that same thing, you know, that maybe Rex Heuermann did come off as a nice guy in a lot of ways. But I'm sure there's a lot of people that were around him that probably saw that narcissistic side of him. Because it's like Bruce couldn't hide my boss being who he was. He was proud, Alexza. That's really the point. Like he was very proud of what he was doing, and yet he was shady as shit, you know. But it was just that arrogance of proudness, and you know, which always struck me. But whatever, like I don't know.
No, they're usually arrogant.
Yeah,
I mean, with your case, obviously, we're not saying that he's an SK, but I mean that's one of their
but he was,
traits, right? That they're very arrogant. The
yeah,
arrogancy.
yeah,
I'm better than
yeah,
you. I'm smarter than you.
yeah. That, oh, absolutely. You know, and he always used analogies all the time, all the dang time. You know, and don't get me wrong. The thing is that, you know, I actually quite liked Bruce. He was very good to us. But again, I saw it's, you know, like how we are, right? Like, you know, this about us is that we see shit right in front of us. We see exactly who you are. And it's just whether or not you're willing to accept that or not or whatever and stuff like that. And so it was just one of those things, but you're not fooling us. Someone like Rex, if I came across him, probably wouldn't fool me, because instantly you can see a person's, you know, narcissism, especially right away. You know, when somebody's arrogant and comes across a certain way, and you're like, "Mm, you're not even good looking, dude." Usually it's the good looking dudes that have that type of, you know, I'm the cat's butt. But I'm pretty sure I wouldn't doubt it if Rex came across that way too, came across with that arrogance about himself. I wouldn't doubt, but maybe his brother Craig is the actual, um, maybe his brother Craig is the actual killer visiting when his wife was out of town committing the murders.
To me, that
Family name. would
To me,
bring
that I'm just gonna say, to me, I mean, I understand. I know that a lot of people have speculated on that. You know, that maybe Craig is the real. To me, that's a little bit of a stretch. At the time of the homicides that he's charged with, Rex was the owner of the Avalanche, and I understand his brother could have driven it, and they do look alike, but there's no world in which I think Craig could be the perpetrator without Rex's involvement. And I think that it's just creating a more fantastical scenario in an already fantastical situation than it needs to be. Craig could, I've heard that Craig is weird. I've heard that, that they're a lot alike. And, so maybe he's worth looking into for things, but does that alleviate from any guilt? I know he's not been convicted, but in my opinion, I think Rex is the right guy to go with right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
what
yeah.
It would be interesting is finding out, what happened in their childhood. Like what happened in their childhood. Why is it that there's two men, you have two men, so it's not one, so it's something must have happened. And I know their father died when they were younger, and this is a lot of stories that I hear about the father, that they said that the father, although he was very intelligent,
right, exactly,
they said that he was very eccentric, to say the word the least. And he said that like there were things that he would do that they were very conceived as very odd, that normal people wouldn't do that.
Right.
So it would be interesting.
Jeffrey Dahmer's dad.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, but he was more. No, I would consider him more normal. But this one would do things that were like really out of the park.
The roadkill stuff, that was weird.
Well, I think, you guys, I think in all fairness, I feel like Rex watched Amityville Horror when he was younger. And
well, it's only a couple miles down the road.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not kidding. Like I said, like people that are messed up there, I wouldn't doubt it if you saw Amityville Horror, because he lives in Amityville, right over there. And I wouldn't doubt it if you seen the movie and was like, hey.
See, I look at his personality a lot like BTK. I don't know if he's as smart as BTK or if he just benefited from the victims he chose. Where I think BTK chose much more mainstream, if you will, victims, which put heat on him a lot quicker, even though it took a long time. There was also a SK in South Carolina, actually, and I can't remember his name, but he was kind of deemed the Amazon killer.
Okay. What's going on?
Because he would leave reviews on things he would buy to use in the crimes, and he got arrested for keeping a girl locked in a storage container with a dog, like a lock on her neck.
Yeah.
But their personalities look very much kind of like Barry Morphew, like times 100.
Oops, sorry, just pausing something there. Oh, when I was doing my video today, I was like thinking about Suzanne Morphew.
Right.
And if anyone doesn't know that case, again, Suzanne Morphew was a mother of two girls and married to Barry Morphew. And she went missing on Mother's Day of 2020. But Barry, the narc that he is, narcissist, he literally finds out his wife's missing, right? Little bike thrown over the bridge, staging. And then he literally goes back to work and proceeds to put down the cement on this beach house that he was working on there in Colorado. And I'm like, who the hell does that? What idiot goes back to work when their wife is missing because he needs to get that cement laid? Really? Anyways, I still feel to this day that Suzanne Morphew is underneath the cement of the platform of that house. That's where I believe Suzanne Morphew is, because he literally was doing things at that place and they used groundbreaking technology sonar. Doesn't mean it catches everything. I still think that Suzanne is buried underneath. Why else? To me, why else would you go back to that place and finish off work to cover your tracks, dude? Anyways, Barry Morphew was arrested, but they still haven't found Suzanne's body. They really don't have a strong enough case, so they had to back off. So hopefully one day that Suzanne Morphew will get her justice too. Right. I was thinking about the groundbreaking, penetrating stuff that can, like they're talking about the anomalies that are
Right.
underneath the earth. And that was in the video, and this video. And by the way, I just want to say this. I love you, Chat GPT. I love you. Thank you. All I have
It's
to do
amazing.
is talk
It's
to my
great.
chat. Oh my goodness. That thing just writes a book for me. I'm just like I
Right.
put in there, you know, um tell me about groundbreaking sonar and
Right.
the whatever. And then it comes back with this freaking novel and I'm like, "Thank you
I I will
so much."
caution. I've because I've asked it to explain legal documents to me before, and
Yeah.
on one occurrence, it was wrong. So you
Oh.
definitely you definitely have to, and I've also it was
Mm.
wrong one time when I asked about significant things that happened on a specific day,
Yeah.
and then when I cross referenced them, it was wrong. So anyone that
Mm.
uses Chat GPT or any of those AI programs, don't automatically trust them. At least at
Well,
least
I'm going to trust.
at least cross. Well, no, of course, yeah, but
Yeah. All I'm
you
going to
know,
say is I'm just sitting there and I was at a loss for words and I'm like, "Wait, I have that Chat GPT thing on my thing that I thought I would try out the trial for."
yeah,
And I'm like, "I like you. You use
right,
words that I don't is that I would like to use, but I don't think to use." It's kind of like when somebody writes a book or a story or whatever. I'm just like, yeah, that's beyond my vocabulary.
um,
Like meaning how they use certain words throughout an entire thing.
right,
So I was just like, anyway, so I was decided I was going to use it to help me as I was making the video to see how it was, and I thought it was really cool. And because to
awesome,
me, art doesn't matter if they, even if there's like a Chat GPT thing. The whole point is to me, creators, you use whatever, you use other people's videos, maybe you use Chat gp, maybe you use somebody's thumbnail that's similar to it and whatever like that. Creating is creating, there's no bounds to it for me. Besides,
right,
so if you're, like I said, besides ripping somebody's own art off with type of idea, but again, even that, they put their own face on it and next thing you know it becomes theirs. Really nothing nobody can
right.
do. It's really
Um,
theirs.
Daisy, um, I- I've actually been thinking a lot about Suzanne lately, and I'm not sure why, but I've been for the last week and a half. I've been thinking about Suzanne like once a day at least. But Sonny's knows more about Suzanne's case than than most of us probably do combined. So her doing a
Up
deep dive on
until a
that
point,
would not
yeah.
be difficult. It was actually it was the first case that you really covered on your channel, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Suzanne's case. Like for the whole story part, for the most part, I remember all that. After a couple of years um and I took a break from it because it was consuming my life. I was letting it consume my every thought, um, wanting justice for Suzanne. And then when I took a break and I came over to Abby and Libby, the Delphi,
Mhm.
um, I just couldn't, my brain just couldn't handle doing both. It was too
Right,
much, because I put a lot of, like, some people just can, glance over things and here's a story. And I guess I can do that, but that was a learning curve for me
right,
to be able to do that because when I'm invested in something, I usually give that one thing my all. And
right.
so, yeah. And so
My gut,
I
my gut tells me that Suzanne's case is gonna come up again
it will.
relatively soon.
Yeah. So what your gut
I don't
says.
know why, but like I said, she's been on my mind a lot lately, and I don't
Oh,
know
so I see.
that would be.
You're You're gonna use you're gonna use your intuition, huh?
So. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe Barry
And
will make some dumb mistake.
yeah. Oh, Gary is, yeah, Gary, Barry.
Barry.
I'm saying Gary. Barry is absolutely 100% guilty.
Yeah.
And
But
his
his
daughter,
personality does remind me a little bit of Rex. From
he
what I
reminds,
know.
which part? The narcissistic part?
Um,
Which part?
the ego-driven narcissism, probably a tad of, and I'm speculating. Alexa can correct me if I'm wrong. I would assume probably some sociopathy behavior,
Is it
and
socio or
mainly
psycho?
basically just this, this it's ego-driven when you feel this sense of power from dominating and controlling other people, whether it's warranted or not.
I mean, in this case, I think, I mean, we would have to study, but it could be, I mean, it could be psychopath. I mean,
Right.
were
I
they
don't know
born
anything
like this? I
I don't know anything
mean,
about Rex's younger
you
years.
know, the thing is, I don't know anything about his youth. I mean, it's, you know, how was he? Was he, or I mean, I don't know if he's a psychopath or sociopath. I mean, I don't know if
Right.
he was like that since he was born. Most likely, I would say most likely, but they always, obviously, with age comes magnification of behavior.
And
But
you can be a sociopath and a psychopath, correct? Like,
yeah,
like I think it's safe to say he exhibits sociopathic behavior. He may also be a psychopath. I don't know enough about his
You talking
youth.
about Barry or Rex?
Rex, which I think Barry Morphew is a sociopath, but I think
Yeah.
that Rex exhibits sociopathic behavior in what we know he's accused of. Just because of the theatrical display of the burner phones and him contacting the families and just the leading a double life and no one catching on. To me, those are all sociopathic.
that would align more with the psychopath than sociopath. Well, I mean, they're very similar, but I mean, the difference is that one is basically made. I mean, we would have to see, I think, to do something as callous as this, I would say more that you would have to be born like that.
Right. But can you not I think you can be a sociopath and a psychopath, but a psychopath typically is not, or a sociopath is typically
they cannot be a psychopath.
Right.
Psychopaths are born.
But you can be a sociopath and a psychopath, correct?
Yeah. Social,
Yeah,
of course. I think most psychopaths are also sociopaths because there has to be, because just because you're born with a condition doesn't mean that you're going to become. What happens with them is that they're born predisposed.
Right. And the science also then is more a gray area as far as like, which attributes to what.
And and the sociopaths are basically something that happens in your life. Like I always believe that BK is a sociopath. That something happened in his life that switched him and made him into what we see now.
Would a psychopath text a family member of someone they already killed for no other reason than to exhibit dominance, power,
or of course,
pleasure?
Because you're talking about psychopaths, yes, they would do that.
So they would. Because to me that would exhibit a sociopathic.
No, I would say
behavior.
No. I mean, no. I think no. I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but for what I have seen, I think psychopaths. With psychopaths, I mean, I think there's few differences. Obviously, nowadays they don't call them psychopaths, but let's not even get into that.
Right.
Is the fact that basically one is proven that in the frontal cortex of the brain, some of the connections that we have are missing, and that's why they don't have shame. They don't have shame. They don't feel embarrassed. They don't feel like, and they don't have that, part of the amygdala where, when we do something, we know what's wrong from right. So, that stealing is wrong. So you have that in you that, that you're not going to go to the store and steal something because you know what's wrong. They don't have that.
So what would drive someone with, let's just say baseline psychopathy? what would drive them to then go out of their way to create more pain for a family member? Like
pleasure.
Pleasure
for them.
But then wouldn't that also then automatically fall under sociopathic behavior? Because you're doing something like that. I know we're not
No, I know, because I mean, what they're doing is, you have to understand that by the taunting is that reliving and telling details that only he knows.
Right.
And calling the sister and telling her details, because he would start saying, and that's power. It's also controlling. There's SKs, but there's also categories of SKs.
Right.
As a visionary, as a hedonistic, which I think he is.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a subcategory that is, that he does it fantasy, and we go back to the fantasies. These are men that fantasize it, but they take it from, and they have obsessive. I would say with him, I mean, not psychology, but I think that he might have he must have something like maybe like a compulsive behavior, but he looks, or maybe in the spectrum. Rex, I don't know if he was ever diagnosed, or they are hopefully don't diagnose him now, but I think he must have something in there too, in his in him.
So I guess that would all go into the intent on why he's doing it, which is something none of us can answer at this point.
Oh, I mean, my opinion, I would say his intent would be pleasure, is reliving a thing. Everything they do is for them. It's control.
Right. I meant to determine, when sociopathy and psychopathy overlap, I guess the intent is what then, creates the difference in whether one is one or both or the other.
Well, one is one. I mean, this is where it goes back to that. One is, I mean, a psychopath is somebody that is born, that you physically can scan them, and they're different than you and me are. The sociopaths are people that learn that behavior, that something in their life, maybe they were bullied, there were something, and they started becoming, callous, and they start becoming aggressive, and they start exhibiting those things. I mean, anybody. I mean, social, and there's a lot of sociopaths that they don't unalive people.
Right. Of course. Yeah. So I'm like I said, I'm just trying to kind of evaluate what.
Honestly, I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly
overlap
because I am not a psychologist. So the exact amount I cannot tell you, because I am not a psychologist, and
we don't know enough about his youth, like you said.
But I would, if I had to choose between sociopath and with him, I would say he's probably a psychopath. He was probably born like that, and there were things in his life that amplified. There's always a turning point in somebody's life that makes you go into that deep. Like what is, and usually it's in childhood. And that's what most of the psychologists, the forensic psychologists say something. So what happened? And so I would say, and even in the SKs, and that's the thing, the beauty, when you study all the SKs, almost all of them have that in common, that their childhood, you go back to their childhood and they can pinpoint. A lot of the mothers were ladies of the night. A lot of them were, did consumption of illicit drugs. So, and they saw violence in their house. So with him, even though they might have been normal, there has to be an event of his life that flipped him. And that's what made him.
And the fact that he never left his childhood home probably was a factor in
yes and no, because
in his narrative.
Yes, because in Massapequa, it is like that. Because, for example, my dad lives in a house that it was his parents. So it's like a generational home. In Massapequa, you see a lot of them. Even my friends.
But he kept it the way it was when he.
I know. That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing, and especially from somebody who's an architect, that's the thing that it makes you creepy.
He had the means and ability to modernize and upgrade and update his house, and he didn't. He kept it the way it was when he was a child, to the point of it looking decrepit. When the rest of the block all updated their home.
They're very
nice.
He
kept that house looking like it did when he was a kid, even though it became less and less nice. I look at that as probably a fixation on his childhood.
Mhm.
I mean,
I'm
honestly,
speculating.
you go back to okay, so he wanted to keep the house like that, like a museum. Why? What was in that part of his life that he wanted to keep?
Right.
That he didn't
Right.
want to modernize his house like all the neighbors.
Right.
What
Like,
was, what was that,
But why?
that he
Yeah.
got so attached
Right.
to the house.
What was
And the
he
mom is still
lacking?
alive. Hmm.
Yeah.
What
What was
affection
he
did
trying
he
to
get?
hold on to? Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
are they talking about the neighbor? The neighbor that was talking?
had that neighbor on who had 0 to add on Rex.
Is that the
Which
one
one?
with the pink shirt? That everybody, I actually spoke to somebody and they hate it. And Shelly, I did see your question. I was gonna ask Sunny to let me answer it. They hated him because they said that what he was saying, I guess some people want his 15 minutes of fame and they just go and they just add things, and they don't, I mean, and they don't make sense. A lot of people are just putting their noses and saying things that are not true, and you have to be careful with that because it's not
Is it
just you say things, I mean, it can bring consequences. But anyway, like I said, like I told you, my friend's grandparents live literally like 2 houses down, and they said that this family, and I told Sunny that usually they have a lot of in this block. They usually have, not in the first. Is it the first? Is it Michigan? Michigan. They said that they have a lot of parties. They usually have block parties, so they block like 2
yeah.
blocks, and they have a lot of block parties. And they said that they were the only ones that would never come out. They would never pitch in. They were always kept to themselves. But she was telling me, I was asking because I saw one of the neighbors said that had one day that they were weird and they were like burning stuff and everything. I mean, she said that she knows and that she's aware she's never seen. I mean, burning garbage, it's illegal, but a lot of people do it, by the way. I mean, my mom does it. I
Yeah.
know it's bad. It's horrible for the environment, but sometimes she does it. And I always tell her, please don't do it. But anyways, um,
So which
in,
neighbor are you
in,
referring to? Which neighbor? Because
I don't know. I don't know. It's one with the pink shirt.
is that the guy that? Yeah, but is that the guy that was on talking about how he heard digging when he was 18
Yeah,
or
I
19?
think so. I think
I
so.
think he's
I
in
think
this
he was.
video. So,
Yeah, that
um,
he was saying, and that he was saying that he almost that he got into a fight with him and everything. Now everybody got into a fight with him, and they said that this guy, and a lot of the neighbors said that
oh,
he was very reserved. He was only hi, bye, and that's it. He really didn't talk to anybody.
this guy,
Yeah, this one. Hmm.
right?
Yeah, the
Okay.
Mustos are really nice. I like them. They have kept the story, like, say what it is, but don't add it to the story.
Well, can I just say that like there was this useless lady. The only thing she cleared up for me is that people that are on disability, aka the son, they automatically get food stamps, and
Yes,
hence why they use food stamps.
that's another thing that
So
yes, that everybody was saying that he was taking advantage of the system. No, the son has apparently some disability. It's not physical. I think
right,
it's like spectrum or something.
Right.
And
yeah,
he automatically in New York you get an EBT card, which is
yeah,
basically like food stamps, and that's you get it. And I
yeah.
guess if they're giving it to you, of course you're gonna take advantage, and you get, I don't
Well, of
know,
course,
$1,500 a month, and then you spend it, and you can buy food. There's some items that you can't buy. For example, I know
Right.
you cannot buy alcohol. I know you
right,
cannot buy shrimp, for example. You cannot buy
yeah,
smoked. I mean, those things. There's a lot of
right.
Lobster
limitations
tail.
that you
It's meant
that
Okay.
you
for
cannot.
food
So it's
and
just
stuff,
basically
right?
for food.
Mhm.
And I know sometimes like you can buy others. I mean, some are limited, some are not. But I know those are the things that you cannot buy. So you get it. But that doesn't mean that they were taking advantage of the system, because I heard somebody say too that they were taking advantage of the system. No, the son has a disability and he's
Right.
entitled to, and he probably gets paid too. He probably gets a disability check every month for $1,200.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I agree to disagree, whatever, but that's his right. So
yeah.
And
Well,
but
and
what,
absolutely,
knowing this, knowing that the son, possibly you did did suffer from some sort of issue, which what I was told was it was like an Asperger's type thing.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
what I
don't
heard too.
know. You know, that's also can be a genetic thing. And so, I mean, then if you look at some of the behavior of Rex in that mindset, some of it, like I said, I'm not a doctor, but some of it does track in my layman's opinion.
That's what I was telling you, that he
Yeah.
does look like he had, like, I'm not a psychologist, but to me, Rex does seem a little bit like he has something like Asperger, like is he in the spectrum? But to
Right.
me, he does seem like
Even
something.
looking at his field, even looking at architecture. I mean, you know, if you look at, you know, some of the characteristics of people that exhibit those traits, and then you look at some of the careers they're drawn to, architecture is one of them.
Oh,
Like I said, and
Yeah.
I'm speculating 100%. So I mean, don't, you know.
yeah. Oh, yeah. My new cup, my big ice cream cone cup.
Oh, that
Can you
is
see it?
so cute.
Yeah.
That's adorable. That reminds me
Yeah.
of mine that it broke. They broke
Mm,
mine.
yeah. I seen it at the Dollarama yesterday. Or was it
I'm still
yesterday? Yeah.
jealous.
And I was
Yeah.
like, I gotta have it. I have it as I was picking up my hickory sticks and ketchup chips.
Mm.
Yeah,
Nice to leave.
and barbecue. Yeah, so sorry, but even though Dollarama can be a ripoff in itself nowadays, but still, it's still better
If
than
there were
usually the prices.
if there were sprinkles on it, I'd be gone.
Right? I mean, that would just add. I could easily do like Alexza does and bling it and put
You should bling it.
and put
With
real
like
ones
little
on.
rhinestones. Yeah.
Next time you want to get next time you're pissed at me, just bling that out and then send me a picture of it. I'm like,
Right. Ever since I was a kid, not to get off topic, but ever since I was a kid, I always loved the Dairy Queen ice cream symbol. It was just the cone and the poop poop with the swirl on top. And for
oh,
me,
poor
Dairy
guy.
Queen ice cream is the best first and foremost, but that's because they add all that sugar in there. To be honest with you, that's why it tastes so good. But anyways, uh, me and I'm a big kid. Like seriously, I would be like Michael Jackson. I'd have like if I had that kind of money, I'd have a candy store in my house. I'd have
Mm.
everything for kids and stuff like that. That's just me. Going back quickly, I want to say something that Carrie um, had said about her dad. She had said that her dad was dormant for many years, maybe due to do with age. Who knows? I don't know. Anyways, but what she said was that the reason why he got caught is because he started playing cat and mouse with the police. It was kind of like, you know what I mean? It's like he wanted to, in a sense, get that notoriety by messing with them. And so to his demise, that's why he got caught, was because he came out of the woodwork to play cat and mouse games
Right.
to it now, which I thought was like, I didn't actually know that. But then again, I didn't know about this case, you know, because like I said, in Canada, you hear certain things for cases, but when this would have started, I would have been really young and I wasn't into no true crime and didn't know, it would circulate in your newspapers. So, in Canada, we're pretty boring when it comes to that stuff. We don't really have, like, we have stuff that goes on, but obviously not near to the extent of what happens in the US because your population is so much different.
Right.
So,
And we know he was like so tuned in to the task force they appointed, and like looking up different things and like the technology that they were using. So I mean, that was all in the paperwork that we read. So I mean, as far as a cat and mouse game, I don't know of any communications that he did with police recently, but I mean, clearly he was tuned into the investigation as much as he could be.
you're talking about BTK or Rex?
Rex.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You know, thorough. Like, I mean, that's really a couple part. He's trying to
Because he was
see
looking
where.
at the he was even looking up stuff about the technology that the phone technology they were using as far as the task force, because he knew that, you know, his personal phone and the burner phone that he would, you know, communicate on were in the same place and traveling all the time together. So I mean, he had to have gotten nervous about that in the
Oh,
last decade.
absolutely. Well, that's the thing, right? Is because you could never imagine
Right.
of the advancement in cell phones or any of that stuff.
Because
You
a
couldn't
decade
even.
ago, we didn't know. I mean, the first time I really learned about cell phone pings and geographical, I can't
Yeah,
even remember
Abby's
the language
MoFi.
for it, but it was during the serial case, which was Adnan Syed.
Oh,
That was the first time I really learned about cell phone, cell tower pings and things like that. And you know, that was within the last decade. And I feel like, you know, I think that, you know, most people probably would say they didn't know an incredible amount about geo what's the word, I can't even think.
oh, geofencing.
Not geofencing, but just, you know, just
Yeah,
GPS and
right.
data pinging back in 2010 2011 like they do
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Much like back in the 70s or 60s, someone wouldn't have
Well,
thought about DNA the way they would now.
that's why there's a lot of cases being solved now because of that DNA that they kept on file. And again, like, kudos to them for, even though they didn't know how technology would advance, but, this whole 23andMe thing and, just how, yeah, I mean, there's going to be a point when you ain't going to be able to take a poop without frickin', someone seeing you do it. Because
Can't
it's
throw pizza
like,
crust away.
yeah,
So
right.
note to all people that want to commit a homicide: eat your crust.
No,
Yeah,
and also a lot of family secrets are going to start coming out because I mean,
Oh
I
yeah,
actually know somebody personally that she didn't know that the dad wasn't the dad. And
right.
she took one of those and realized that not only the dad is not the dad, but she has like 4 siblings from the
Uh-huh.
real dad.
mm-hmm.
Same.
And
I know people like that too.
yeah, so it was
Same. Yeah,
chaotic.
yeah,
So a
yeah,
lot of skeletons in the closets are going to start coming with DNA. But also at the same time is when, I'm sure as we get more advanced, they also have to regulate it, and put some boundaries. Like, for example,
yeah.
for your kids, like, I wouldn't like my kids' DNA to be everywhere.
Well,
You know,
I think 23, because I was talking to someone about this recently. I believe, and I could be wrong because I didn't independently verify it. But I believe that 23andMe and Ancestry.com both, which it doesn't mean you can't bypass it, but I think they both make someone uploading DNA click something saying they're 18 years
yeah.
old.
Oh,
Yeah.
To take away the fact that, you know, that you could be,
Yeah.
because I of course was like, my niece, that my 1.5-year-old niece, her father, he doesn't know all of his DNA history, whereas our family we do. So I was like, well, I'm curious to know her genetics,
Mm-hmm.
but she's only 1.5, so I'm like, you can't like here, spit it in this little tube, and we're gonna send it in.
I'm sure probably the mom can do it and do it, represent it, but I don't know.
But
I
then
mean,
it becomes she didn't have that she wasn't given
yeah,
that
that's what I'm saying.
stuff.
I wouldn't do it. No, there's
Right.
like a lot of things that I wouldn't do. For example, for
Kelly.
me, like I don't like posting. There's some people that
Same.
post like your kid's life everywhere online.
Right.
I don't like that because I think my kids, they
I
should
don't post
be
pictures of
kept
my
private. And I think those pictures are not. They don't belong. They're not. You know what I mean? I don't know. I have problems with that. I wouldn't show my kids to the internet, or like those celebrities that put
Right.
everything, or not even celebrities, even the bloggers that they show everything about their kids,
Right.
and I'm
Well,
like,
you're also in true crime, Alexza. So, like,
Yeah.
I was gonna say
I don't show
yeah,
pictures of my niece
most of us.
online, and I wouldn't show pictures of your twins if I were you, because you're in
no,
true
no,
crime.
I've never have. No, and and Sunny
Well,
knows that, but I was stuck for like a year and a half, so, and it was
I know, and I
pretty.
apologize for that, Alexa,
For what?
For
over
Lewis
her head.
stalking you.
Ah.
I said I
And
apologize. You said that, and then I said, and I apologize for that, Alexa, meaning about the year and a half of stalking. I was
yeah.
just kidding.
And no, so so ever since then, I became very, like, I never cared about things. Like, I would never lock my door, I would never. And ever since then, I became so aware of my surroundings,
I
and
have to
my
go to
things.
the toilet to drink. I'll be right back. Okay.
Mhm. So it makes you be more wary about things
It
and
does.
people, and always watching your back, and
Right.
who's around my kids and everything. So
Right. Although, I mean, I know for myself personally, I mean, when I did 23andMe a couple years ago, which I know people have arguments against giving,
whatever.
but I mean, I not only uploaded my DNA, but I also then gave permission to share my DNA, so that if anyone in my family committed a crime, they could
They
use
can
my
find
DNA
you.
to find them.
Mhm.
So I was like, that's their problem.
Not yours. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I just, me personally, I just don't. I mean, I know my family members have done it too, but
Right.
I
But yeah,
just,
when it comes to my niece, no, that's a whole different story. That's
yeah.
she's a child, and
Mhm.
that's, I feel like that should be her decision.
Mhm.
But like I said, I'm not gonna share. I don't share pictures of my niece on social media either, because I do true crime,
And
especially on a crime involving
Mhm.
two children.
And that's what makes me crazy, because a lot of the parents, like, they put the, like, especially, it could be boys or girls, doesn't matter.
And it's innocent. People don't.
It's innocent, because sometimes they're at the beach without the in bathing suits, or in positions that are more compromisable, and they don't understand that what they're doing is they're just feeding into those psychos. That's all they're doing. So don't. I always tell people, do not post pictures of your kids. Don't do it. I mean, once in a while, one maybe, but don't share everything. Bath time. You don't have to share bath time with your kids in the pictures.
And I've told the story before, but I mean, even my my middle niece, Emily, she just turned 19. She's a little bit younger than Libby. She's Abby. Or Abby. And I remember when she was probably 11, maybe 12, she had an Instagram account, and it was right when Instagram kind of became really popular. And my sister-in-law had no idea what Instagram was. I had an Instagram account, and I followed her, and I went on there one day, and I noticed there were all of these followers, and all of her videos and pictures were of her at dance class, tumbling in leotards with her 11, 10-year-old friends in little bikinis or dance costumes. And I looked at her followers one by one. I went through every single one of them. And there were a lot of them that were middle-aged men. And I remember going to my sister-in-law and being like, you have got to control Emily's Instagram, because the people following her are adult men. And my sister-in-law goes, what's Instagram? Yeah. At the time, she didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And so we had to, set up the parameters
controls,
where, you had to accept someone to follow you. And my niece at the time was like, well, I don't know. They just comment that they like it.
Yeah.
Because she's innocent. She's a little girl just posting pictures and videos of her and her girlfriend.
And for them, getting a like from somebody else is like, it's validation. Oh my God, people like me, and they like it. And
that's
to them,
how I always put that into perspective with the Anthony Schatz thing and Libby, because when you're that age, yes, you might have ideas of being older than you are, but you're still a little girl.
Yeah. And
So you don't understand the reality of it.
No, you don't. And kids don't understand, because I recently, I think I was telling CD last time when we were talking that my kids chat in Roblox, but usually they only have permission to chat with their friends, and usually friends with the school. There's only one kid that it wasn't from the school, but it was somebody from the school that knew this kid. And I was like, okay, I'll allow it, whatever. And little by little in Roblox. And I heard
There's
the
some
chatting.
weirdos in there.
And I was telling and I was like, who is that? And they're like, oh, that's the friend of this friend. And I'm like, but how old is this person? I'm like, and they're like, oh, no, he said it was 13. And I'm like, this person is not 13. And through a friend and through this and that and that and that, I started reading the logs, because my kids, everything they do gets recorded. So I started going to that, and he started asking, like my kid innocently said, hey, give me some time. I am going to go to the bathroom. Well, I am in the bathroom, and I have my iPad, and he's like, oh, why don't you turn the camera on? And I was like, whoa. And then anyway, so we tracked it and everything, and it ended up being somebody older. Right. But it wasn't a kid.
Well, if you're a child and someone says to you, oh, well, what's the name of your school?
Yeah.
A child's brain does not think there's anything malicious about that question. Because why would there be, right? You're just, if you ask you where do you go to school, you tell them. Yep. But then, if you're a predator, you hear the name of a school and you immediately know where the kid lives. Yes,
where they go, and then they start tracking. That's exactly one of the things. I remember that was one of the huge fights with my kids, because they put one of the pictures that they had was with their uniform.
Right. Well, and
parents they're like, it's innocent. We just put a picture of us. And I'm like, sweetheart, not only you put a picture of you, now they know exactly where you go, because your uniform has the name of your school. And on top of it, you're like, literally, they can tell what street you're on, because literally was like outside. So I was like, oh my God, no.
And they said parents will do it too, innocently. They'll tag their kids' school and things. They'll tag their children and the location of things that they don't think anything about, or they join a Facebook group of the school their kids go to. And then they don't think about the fact that if someone knows where their kids are, and they want to know where they go to school?
Nope. I learned you don't do that. You don't tag your job. You don't tag your work. You don't tag anything. They cannot, nothing.
That way it's innocent. People don't think about it.
Until it becomes scary. Because for me, I used to do it until, I came face to face with that. And I was like, never again.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Sonny.
Okay, I feel like there's a space there now. Okay, I was just gonna say that, like, with the Koberger case, right? I mean, basically, it wouldn't be hard to find any of them because they were too busy posting videos of where they lived and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, in a day, someone could easily just find that person.
Yeah,
because they made it so easy, just to base. Like whenever I always say, when it says ask app or allow app to track you, I literally say no. Most times I say no to send me notifications, for most things and stuff like that. I don't like certain things. Like, I mean, there's a lot of things I don't like, but whatever. I don't like the fact that I look at something that I've talked about on my computer and then I see it on my iPad, and I'm
you're talking to somebody and then you go to your iPad and that question comes up and you're like, how does my iPad know what I was thinking? But they have microphones and they listen.
Yeah. I just, I don't know. I always say no when it says ask or let app track you. I've done it the odd time for perhaps Google Maps. That's about it. Allow it once while I'm using the app or whatever it is.
That's why Google thinks I live in Indiana, because all my Google suggestions are like, find out the top 10 schools in Indiana, or your weather forecast for Lafayette, Indiana.
Yeah. Do you guys mind if I just play a little bit of this? I'm kind of curious. I haven't seen it. It says they obviously have Richard Allen on there with the Gilgo Beach, and police corruption. I'm not. Anyways, do you guys mind if I play it for a few minutes?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
About the Gilgo Beach, Long Island serial killer case. One day after they had a description of this man. They had a description of his very unique vehicle. Someone who had an interaction one day before one of the victims went missing. And an eyewitness who actually saw this guy and described him and his car. And it's not like, oh yeah, you know, average height. No, not anything but average. Like huge Frankenstein-sized guy. And a very unusual vehicle as well, a Chevy Avalanche. How many of those are there out in Long Island and Massapequa? Not a ton. And that was one of the pieces of evidence that they looked at after all these years when they got like people together. And that's how they end up putting the pieces together with information that they had like 13 years ago. What's going on here? Well, we're going to dive into the problems with this investigation and why it was delayed for all these years this hour with some people who know a lot about what was going on in terms of law enforcement, politics, everything out in Long Island. This case should have been solved a long, long time ago, in my opinion. So let's begin, though, with the latest in this case. In the investigation, and there's been a lot of focus on the house of the accused killer, and we're getting some images now of what's going on in the yard. Look at that. You see the yellow excavator scooping dirt in the backyard on Sunday. Still at the house today. You can see from some of this drone footage what is going on there. Like, it's an obvious place to look, right? The guy lived here for years and years and years. You're going to get rid of evidence, maybe get rid of it. They're dismantling a deck area. They're scanning. Are they going to find anything? What would you expect to find? How do you go through the earth to find stuff without destroying evidence as well? This is an investigation where, yeah, they have some evidence now, but you always want more because it's always going to be challenged, especially in a high-profile case like this. But this is where a lot of the focus is now. So let's start there and talk about what's happening at the house. Joining us tonight in New York City, senior reporter from the U.S. Sun, Luke Kenton, back with us. And in Jacksonville, Alabama, forensic death investigator, professor of forensics at Jacksonville State University, and the host of the very popular Body Bags podcast, Joseph Scott Morgan, with us. Great to see you both. So, Luke, what are you hearing about the search of the property out there in Massapequa?
Yeah, there's been a great deal of police presence at the home since Rex Heuermann's arrest on July 13th. Over the last few days, that search seems to have intensified somewhat. We've had cadaver dogs present in the yard of the home. They've deployed sonar devices to look down into the ground, and also, you know, you've seen heavy machinery there digging up and excavating the earth around the property. I think particularly the existence of canines and sonar is an interesting development. That seems to me to signal that perhaps police are looking for human remains on the property, and perhaps there are additional victims that we're not yet privy to, buried somewhere on that yard. Additionally, you know, they'll be looking for other items of evidence, perhaps murder weapons, buried trophies. One of Rex's neighbors came forward last week and said during his time living next to Rex, around the time of the murders, he'd hear digging in the backyard at strange hours of the night and strange times of the morning as well. So that certainly seems to be something police are following up on. And we know that they're working with the theory that perhaps Rex lured some of these victims to his home and murdered at least one of the women there.
So Joseph Scott Morgan, the last time we were looking at a huge excavation in a backyard, it was Chad Daybell out in Idaho. We know they found significant evidence there, tragic but significant evidence. What are your thoughts about what's going on in the yard and the property there?
Well, they certainly have things set up very similar, actually, to the way Idaho was set up. You see multiple sites that they're taking this evidence to. There's one shot that our producers showed just a second ago, this tinted area. It's a covered area, And yeah, there you go. That area that you would see them working in, just imagine each one of those buckets that comes up with earth in it is taken to that area, and it will be sifted through, like you see on an archaeological dig many times, sifted through looking for any kind of fragmented bone or any kind of items that might be in there. You can find jewelry, you can find all kinds of things. However, what's very striking about this, Vin, is the fact that this is a very blunt tool that they're using. I don't know what can be inferred by that, but it's covering a lot of ground at one time. They're taking out big scoops. It's not like a traditional archaeological dig where you have the area kind of gridded off into particular areas where you're working each individual grid. They're taking up big gobs of earth at that point in time. So it'll be very interesting to see how this kind of plays out. Another shot that you guys are showing right there, if we can hold that for a moment, you see those cellar doors, and that's very intriguing to me as well, because that's out of sight. We've got a lot of vegetation in the backyard, so you're not going to be able to appreciate what might be going on the other side of the hedgerow. However, now with drone technology, you can see all kinds of things.
Absolutely. Now, something else that a lot of people were talking about is what's going on inside the house. You know, did he have like this room, which was just his room where no one else was allowed? And then rumors that it may have been a soundproof room in the basement of the home. Here's Rodney Harrison, who's been pretty forthcoming throughout this part of the investigation with information. He's the Suffolk County Police Commissioner. Here's what he had to say about the rumors of the soundproof room.
Somehow some bad information got out. There's not a soundproof. There is a vault. We've secured numerous amount of guns. Somehow, I believe that the soundproof room and the vault, that misconstrued. There is a vault. There's no soundproof.
All right, Luke, what do we know about what was found in that basement? We heard the commissioner there talk about a vault.
Yeah, the confusion between the soundproof room actually came from a neighbor late last week who said that they were told by a police officer on the scene that the soundproof room had been discovered. That information was slightly misconstrued. What it actually is a walk-in vault in the basement, which we did know a little bit about before. In that vault, Rex Heuermann was storing somewhere between 200 to 300 firearms, which is certainly a very excessive amount. Around 90 of those he had a permit for, but the rest seemed to be unaccounted for at this time. Beyond that, we don't actually know what else was found in the basement, but authorities did say that the search of the home, including that vault area, has been very fruitful so far. So I'm sure we'll find out more information about that in the coming days and weeks. But I also think, it's important to highlight that number of firearms. 200 to 300 is a huge amount. And I was speaking to some criminal profilers over the last few days who said, that number paints Rex Heuermann as maybe an obsessive individual, and certainly maybe even a paranoid one as well. We know in the days and weeks leading up to his arrest, he was researching this case. What some of the searches were. Why haven't the Long Island serial killer been found yet? Why weren't they able to trace his cause? And I suppose that begs the question, was he paranoid that the net was finally closing in on him?
Joseph Scott Morgan, what are your thoughts about searching that basement, the vault, all the guns, and how that could or potentially be connected to this investigation? And would you expect to find anything else hidden inside that home?
Well, certainly we know that in past cases where there have been serial perpetrators, one of the things that they enjoy doing is collecting trophies. And these can be anything from jewelry to items of clothing to actually anatomical elements that they will return to and kind of fantasize over. But I think a word of caution here, man, it's very, it should be, and this was pointed out, and I'm glad that Will brought this up. It was alleged to be a soundproof room. There's a big rush among the media to want to turn this guy into Gacy at this point in time. You can't throw around terms like soundproof room and have that out there. You're talking about acoustic paneling. You're talking about specific kinds of carpeting. All these kinds of things can be inferred by that simple comment. There's enough on these guys' plate to have to process at this point in time. And the fact that he's got this many weapons down there, and Lord knows what else, I think that what you should be keying in on is what was mentioned. They're saying that this was fruitful. And from an investigative standpoint, when I hear that, and to continue on with that analogy, I like to think about this as harvest time, where you're going to try to collect as many fruits as you possibly can of your labor down there in your searches. And the fact that they're saying it is fruitful is key, because they have elements that could potentially have tiebacks. Remember, one of these other comments that's floating around in the media is that it is believed that one individual may have been killed in that home. And again, I think that that's what we need to be focusing on, and not thinking about soundproof rooms and those sorts of things at this point in time.
So, Luke, have we gotten any information about anything that's been retrieved from that home? And do we know about any other potential search areas out there?
So with regards to the evidence that's been found in the home on Long Island, police have been quite guarded about that information. What we do know is from images that we've seen of them carrying certain items out of the home. So we know they towed away another Chevrolet Avalanche belonging to him, a newer model, not the original one that was at a property in South Carolina. They've also carried out various items of furniture, sofas and lamps. One item that I think drew particular interest and speculation in equal measure was some sort of strange life-size doll that was encased in a glass case that was taken out of the home a few days into the search. The suggestion and the speculation surrounding that doll is, was this one of the dolls that was placed actually at a memorial site for some of the women when their remains were found? Again, that's just pure speculation at this point, and police haven't commented on that. But beyond the house on Long Island, Rex had properties in Las Vegas, 2 timeshare properties, one of which he's still believed to own, and also several plots of land in South Carolina, which are also being searched, in addition to 2 storage units that we also believe belong to Rex Heuermann. So, authorities in now multiple places across the country have a large job on their hand. Again, they're being guarded about what they found, but I think, the fact that they're calling the search so far fruitful is a good sign for this investigation.
Joseph, how do you know when the search is over?
You don't. And that's what I've said consistently, Vin, about this particular scene. This is the apex of everything, his home. They need to hang on to this thing. I'm of the opinion, and so are some of my colleagues out there, that they need to leave the place. They need to leave the place intact as much as they can, and examine it down to the studs, man. Take everything out, drywall, the whole 9 yards, because you don't know if there are places that are hidden and sequestered in there. And I think back to BTK, and he had rat-holed a bunch of items in his home, if I'm not mistaken. I know somebody will gig me for this, but I think it was underneath a staircase or something like that. Again, going back to these locations to fantasize about these things. And you never know, you might have those elements there. And you want to, the issue is, you need to be able to keep this all in context, Finn, for the overall scene. So when they're documenting this thing, they're looking at it, they can always get an idea spatially of where the stuff was oriented from Jump Street.
And Luke, so far he's been implicated for 3 murders. Any update?
I'm gonna stop it there for a second, just to talk about what we just heard and stuff like that. So kind of like when I heard that too, fruitful is a good thing. Fruitful is possibly a possible thing that could lead to something bigger, like, some more evidence with the case. So fruitful to me. And as for the doll thing, Alexza, I'm confused with the whole doll thing, because we heard it was an S doll, and all this stuff. And
I'm probably going to tell you, and you're probably going to hear it here first, and we're going to save this, and we're going to play it in a year, and you'll see you heard it here first. Right? Yeah. I am pretty sure this doll that they took out, I am pretty sure that this doll is an Icelandic doll that was probably an heirloom or something, but it has nothing to do with Rex, and it has nothing to do with SA, and it has nothing to do with the timeout dolls that were found at the memorial. And what everybody's talking about is the dolls. There were 4 dolls representing, one for each girl, not even representing because the hair colors are different. And we don't even know if Rex was the one who put them. We assume, but in my opinion, I don't think it was him. What happened was the memorial. They did the vigil. They put crosses, 4 crosses for these girls, for the other ones too. But we're just going to speak about this 4. And maybe I cannot tell you the time because I don't know exactly when they appeared. But maybe in a span of maybe less than a year, the dolls magically appear one day. I know somebody that I spoke to that she swears that she knows where these dolls came from. And it has nothing to do with Rex. I don't know because she never told me either. She just said that she knows the person who made them, and that person told them who she gave those dolls to. If that's true or not, I don't know. That's just a rumor. I don't go for rumors, so maybe let's scratch. I don't even know why I said it, but let's even scratch it because we don't know. Anyway,
speaking of things that come up in my social media, now timeout dolls have been popping up in my social media because I googled
because you've been looking, and I remember these dolls because my aunt had one, and everybody calls them creepy, but they're really not creepy, and they're not supposed to have a face. And one of these has a face. I mean,
a little creepy.
I remember my aunt had one, and I told my husband's like, no, and then he remembered, yes, he had one by the entrance of her house, and she had one.
Right. If anyone that doesn't know, a timeout doll.
Can I share my screen?
We think. What secrets are you hiding, Alexza?
How are we at 2 hours already? Wow.
You know, to be honest with you, I remember looking and it was like 47 minutes, and then I felt like we were going forever, and it was only like 107. And then so I knew we were coming up to the 2-hour mark. I kind of wanted to watch some of that court TV to see what they were saying on there as well. There she is.
Oops, sorry, I got booted. I don't know what happened.
You clicked the wrong button.
I don't know. I just got booted.
Sunny wants to watch a little bit of the court TV footage. So yeah, I'm good with it.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't though.
I'm looking at our schedule.
Oh. Yeah.
From the detailed plan we did of the live of, we'll talk about this, and then this.
Right. That's right. I'm pretty sure Deb organized it for us, didn't she?
Let me pull up our spreadsheet.
Right. I couldn't be it's so weird. I'm organized at work. You give me a task or I'll just do the task. I don't even have to be asked. I'll create packets. I'll create all this different stuff. I'll have everything organized. So it's simple. At home, when I have to do things for myself, goes all out the window. Just
kind of like how you can be organized, and then some people are like, so like we talked about OCD. Some people can be so OCD in one aspect of their life, but I always use the car as an example because some people can have everything in their life in a certain place, and their car's a disaster.
A disaster, yeah, right. Is that funny? With me, I wish. No, I don't wish. I like who I am. To be honest with you, I don't give a shit.
Or the person that you walk in their room and it looks like a train wreck, but then you say, "Oh, where do you have a hair tie?" And they know it's exactly under the bed on the right hand side.
That's me typically, but it's usually my husband that. Yeah, it's usually my husband's that I don't know where I put it or I didn't touch it, but I could know it's underneath of a bed, and it's just like, yeah, I know it's there. I was too lazy to pick it up, but I know it's there. Yeah. It made its way into. Once it goes to that point that I can't see it when it's underneath the bed, don't really care after that point, to be honest with you. The only time I'll care again is typically either if I need it or if we're moving and then you go, oh, that's where that went.
See,
That's
I'm
where
the
all
person
that.
that I don't think I know where things are until someone says, I wonder where that is. And then I
Yeah.
immediately am like, oh, it's outside on the porch to the left
Yeah.
of the.
Don't you hate it too though when you see something and then all of a sudden for some odd reason that thing that you saw you need and you're like, where the heck did I see that sucker? I know I seen it somewhere, but because I was
Right.
looking in different spots for whatever I was doing in the first place, it's like, was it in the bathroom in the baskets? Was it underneath the sink? And how do you get lost in a 1-bedroom apartment? Like really, first off, but I can easily like when it comes to certain things because I'm like I'm not a hoarder by no means, but I do have a lot of things that I keep that are smaller things in a basket, and it's underneath my sink, and it's in the walk-in closet and whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, I can't get rid of that yet. No, not ready to. Not ready to. And then there's days I go through it all, and I'll just be like, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone. But then there's those certain things like I remember when I have like a pair of Mickey Mouse shorts from Disneyland and this cute little top to go with it. This is when I had a smoking ass bod, people. And anyways, so I had this cute little outfit. It was so cute. I could not for the life of me give this thing up because I just remember how damn cute I looked in that Mickey Mouse shorts.
Right.
There was like white with little pink Mickey Mouse on the side. Anyways, it was such a cute little outfit that I bought. And I just loved it. And even as the weight grew on and whatever, even if nobody saw me, those shorts can still fit me to this day just because they got the stretchy band, of course. But yeah, there's a couple of odd clothing that I just can never seem to give up because they hold memories,
Right. Well, that's why people keep their wedding dress, because even if they don't fit in it, they want to look at it.
Do you think we should put a timeout doll in Alexa's seat?
Something.
Yeah. Well, let's go back. Let's go back to watching maybe Court TV.
Aspen, where were dolls left? Daisy, so
memorial thing.
There were dolls left at the memorials for some of the victims. And they were considered timeout dolls.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I will say, hi.
Hi.
This guy.
Hi.
Can we get him on our show?
Which the hottie that has the accent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Vincent Charles / Alex.
Yeah. Right. I know. I was like, oh. Anyways, we're not talking about that today.
Wait, do you think I met Vinny or the other two dudes there?
Vinny's one of those guys that he's like cute in a weird way. He has little squishy eyes together. He reminds me of my brother. He has close eyes, and he gets a lot of saliva because he slurps his words a bit.
And the
on there.
other guy looks like Joseph. Is that Joseph Morgan? No.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. That is Joseph Morgan.
I don't know why, but I keep thinking of Indiana Jones when I look at him.
Oh.
I don't know. Alexa, did you find what you were trying to do?
But
no,
I'm about the other guy.
I can't. I don't know. Something is wrong with this, and I can't share for some reason. Like I don't know why.
I mean, you can if you just open up the picture, the one picture.
I did. I tried. I put it on, and I couldn't. So I don't know. Well, but I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you next time, and I'll show you.
Daisy knows what's up.
Yeah. Do you guys want to watch a few more minutes of this and then we'll call it a night, or are you done? It's up to you guys. I don't care.
A few more minutes.
Yeah, I'll watch.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, Alexa, hold on. By the way, Alexa, I really want to do a live on JonBenet Ramsey, and that profiler that claimed that she knows 100% that this is the whatever. Lady, you are off your friggin' rocker on there. Honestly, they already excluded his DNA. But on top of that, it's funny how they show,
Who's?
Well, this Gary Oliveri guy.
Olivera.
I was just reading that article.
Just think about it. And I was talking to Shelly, I think. Just think common sense. First of all, you think a criminal is going to sit there and write a 3-page ransom note? Number one. How did he know that how did he ask for $118,000?
Right.
And that was the exact amount that John got as a bonus that year.
Right. Well, let's save it for when we do a live about it, because I just read this article as well, so I'd be interested in that as well.
Well,
let's schedule it.
I want Alexza, because Alexza, the footage, like the stuff is out there, obviously, with his letters and obviously the ransom note letter. And I was watching even Pat Brown today on it, and again, you can. When somebody does not make the same R's and you're trying to make shit look good, and then she's like, you heard it here first, like, come on. Is this about, like, I mean, you said that, I know, a minute ago here, but the way that she came off was just
mocking
weird.
that.
I know, that's what I was going to say. Were you mocking that?
Yeah,
you heard it here first. And that's what I was wondering if you were doing that, to be honest with you. Because it made me laugh. It was just like, okay, are you here to whatever? Are you here to float your own boat here, lady? Kind of like me. If I'm sitting there calling out KD for BG, at some point I just make myself look stupid after a while, right? And it's kind of like, yeah, you heard it here first. So it's just like, so when I think Tyler Feller do a live and said, like the whole title was, to make you believe that he was the person. And then I thought, oh, let me just watch this. And then I was listening to the lady talk, and I'm like, okay, but you're only showing a little clip of something. And then I was watching Pat Brown on it, and I was like, yeah, exactly. If they've excluded the DNA and, let's show better portions of the letter, because they are, especially, like I said, if you always put a line and then do the hook, okay, that's a consistency that his writing had versus, say, the ransom note. And if you're just doing curved R's like this, that you're too lazy to do the little straight up, again, you're not the same person that wrote that note. Okay, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that consistently you'll see the R with the stick, and then the other one you'll see it anyways. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Be right back. We'll play this for a few more minutes. Oh no, that's smaller. Make it bigger.
Well, it could go extend out great. Now, I don't want to bury the lead here. I know that you have other people coming on this evening, but from a political standpoint, it is important that the feds stay at the lead here, Vin, because we've got all of these sites. We're thinking about potentially around Atlantic City. I don't know about Vegas, perhaps down in the Carolinas. And I've been involved in a couple of serial killer task force over the course of my career, and you need that concentric control because you don't know what the left hand and the right hand are doing. And God bless the families of these poor victims. But I think this is just a start. One of the things you're going to be looking for is to try to find patterns in their behavior. And one of the big hurdles that they're going to have to overcome, Vin, is the decay relative to the remains, trying to determine a specific cause of death in all of these victims. Is there anything that you can tie this individual back to from a physical evidence standpoint?
Joseph Scott Morgan, Luke Kenton, thank you so much. Valuable information. We always appreciate when you come on. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ben.
All right, folks, when we come back, we're going to talk about the issue that I started the show with. Why did this take so long? What was going on out in Long Island with law enforcement? Why? Why couldn't they put things together? We'll try to get to the bottom of that. Plus,
She was identified as a missing person.
They were high school sweethearts reunited.
now he's accused of shooting her husband, and she's serving a life sentence.
Jennifer Faith pleaded guilty to orchestrating the murder of her husband.
Dark eyes is coming toward me.
The alleged gunman, a military veteran who suffered a traumatic brain injury.
A case of greed and manipulation.
The Boyfriend Hitman Murder Trial. Live coverage starting Tuesday morning at 8/7 Central on Court TV.
That individual was identified as a person who was between 6'4" and 6'6", a large man, thickly built, not necessarily overly muscular, but just a naturally big person with glasses, white, and dark hair. Also of significance was that the fact that he was driving a dark-colored black first-generation Chevrolet Avalanche with a very unique feature that was between it was a pickup truck, so it was between the cab and the bed, and that was identified. Again, that was back in 2010.
Back in 2010. All the way back in 2010. Suspect in his car described. This is someone who, according to the witness, had interaction, very violent interaction, scary interaction with one of the victims the day before she went missing, right? A hot lead, but somehow got buried for 13 years. Take a look. In the winter of 2010, shortly after police discovered the remains of his roommate and 3 other women buried on a remote stretch of Long Island, Dave Schaller provided detectives with a description of the person he believed to be the killer. The man they were looking for was a towering, Frankenstein-like figure with an empty gaze who drove a first-generation Chevy Avalanche. They say Chrysler here. That's a mistake. It's a Chevy Avalanche. Schaller recalled telling investigators the man's size stuck out as did his unusual pickup truck, which he used to flee the house that Schaller shared with Amber Costello, one of the victims. On that night, Schaller said he came home to find the stranger threatening Costello, an occasional sex worker who had locked herself in the bathroom. The 2 men came to blows, with the hulking intruder eventually leaving in the trunk. Prosecutors say Costello was last seen alive on September 2nd, 2010, as she left her home to meet that same client. A witness saw a dark-colored truck drive by the house again shortly after she left. In the application to deny bail, based upon interviews, that client was described as a large white male, approximately 6'4" to 6'6", in his mid-40s with dark bushy hair, big oval-style 70s-type eyeglasses. A witness described him to police as appearing like an ogre. Furthermore, the witness noticed a first-generation Chevy Avalanche parked in the driveway of the residence. That's a hot lead. How did he get buried? What was going on out in Long Island? Let me bring in my guest to help us try to figure that out. Former New York State Senator Phil Boyle is with us. Also joining us from Long Island, New York, former District Attorney and Police Commissioner of Suffolk County, Tim Sinney is with us. Thank you both for being here. I really do appreciate it. Let me start with you, Phil. From your perspective, there was a lot of controversy, and I've been covering this before these arrests, and there was always this talk that something was just wrong out there. What was it?
I think it was the police chief at the time. If you think back, Benny, in 2011, we had a newly elected county executive, Steve Bellone. For some reason, he names this guy, Jimmy Burke, as his police chief. Burke had a long history as a police officer, and it wasn't a good one. He had drug problems, DUIs. He was caught having sex in his police car with a sex worker while not securing his gun. This is a guy who should have never been on the police force. Forget about being made the police chief. The first thing that Burke does, because the feds were looking at him for other crimes, was kick the FBI out of the Gilgo Beach investigation. Everybody knows you need the FBI and their forensic capabilities in a case like a serial killer, but for some reason, Burke kicked him out, and that is one of the reasons they didn't catch him with even with evidence of newly found evidence of the person with the description like this. We never even heard it till the other day, till it came out. I think if that was made public, that there was a 6'4" guy from Massapequa with a Chevy Avalanche, they would have caught him a week later.
Yeah, I haven't been to Massapequa recently, but it's 6'4", 6'6" with that particular vehicle. Timothy, what was going on there from your perspective? What was going wrong in this investigation?
Well, I think Phil certainly hits a valid point. For example, when my team came in at the very end of 2015, the department was certainly in turmoil. But if you go back, all the way back to 2010, this investigation started off on the wrong foot. You had a police commissioner and district attorney fighting about different theories about the murders. And then, of course, as Phil just mentioned, you had a chief of department, James Burke, and the former district attorney, Tom Spoda, actively obstruct the FBI from assisting. One of the first reports that I saw was a report issued by a detective saying that they were told not to share information with the FBI. There's also other evidence not gathered and properly analyzed, and those missteps certainly, I believe, hurt the investigation at an early stage.
And Phil, I remember in my coverage of this, with these rumors out there, and you've got a police commissioner who's got problems, and it's in a sexual manner, and you've got escorts who are found as the victims here. For years, everyone is believing that the police themselves were involved here.
Oh, that was a big rumor around here for a long time, and it was the police chief that involved with Burke.
Right.
There was parties over by the beach near where these victims were ultimately found that had sex workers and drugs, and evidently some police officers were there. So it's been thought of as a police cover-up for a long time. We did have corruption at the highest levels of our police department. Our Suffolk police force is great, but the leadership at the time particularly was a disaster.
So, Tim, when you get in there and you've got all these rumors circulating and all these problems, how difficult was it to try to just get some semblance of order and trying to put together what would be a traditional investigation for a serial killer?
Sure. So one of the first steps we took was to re-engage the FBI and seek out their assistance. At the time, the Long Island office was run by Geraldine Hart. She was the FBI supervisor in charge of that entire office. She was the resident agent in charge. And then when I left the police department, she was actually brought into the police department by the county executive to serve as police commissioner. So certainly involving the FBI was an important development. We also sought the assistance of not just the FBI, but of the Nassau County Police Department. I want to really thank my partners at the time in the Nassau County Police Department. As been reported, certainly Massapequa was on the radar as early as 2012. Yet there wasn't much work done in connection with developing that area. So one of the first things we did, in addition to engaging the FBI, was to reach out to the Nassau County Police Department to do intel worksheets on all the residences that could potentially fall within the geographic area where the killer resided. And they were able to produce very helpful information with respect to that area. We also sought additional cell site information in the form of tower dumps. And then we invested about $250,000 in cell phone analytics that help us pinpoint the areas that the killer was connected to, both in Massapequa Park as well as Manhattan. And I have to tell you, when I heard the news of the arrest, the hair on the back of my neck stood up. I'm so proud of the police department and the DA's office, and watching right now the searches in Massapequa Park. They're going to carefully comb through all those areas, all the different relevant areas. And now, it's a matter of finding additional answers. I expect Maureen Brendan Barnes's murder will be charged in short order. And as I believe one of your earlier guests noted, one of the biggest issues is we always feared that the killer was killing somewhere else, because you have these murders from 2007 to 2010, and then we don't have something consistent in that area. So did he just stop killing? Was he incarcerated? Now we know that's not true. Was he killing somewhere else? And so those are some of the answers that you're going to see answered by the thorough investigation being conducted now by local law enforcement. And, I think it was a very astute point by one of your former guests that now that you're talking about multiple jurisdictions, multiple states, it's important to involve, not just involve, but ensure that there's coordination. And certainly the FBI would be an appropriate agency to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, cases like this is when you have everyone working together in step, not saying, Keep the FBI away from this. We don't want them. What? That's makes no sense. Okay, our guests will stay with us. We've got more to talk about in this investigation into the suspected Long Island serial killer. We'll be right back.
Okie dokie. I think that's going to be it that we're going to watch for that tonight. This reminds me of Delphi too a bit when you're listening to that. And it just reminds me of the lack of coordination between Carroll County, the ISP, and not wanting to tell the FBI stuff. And it doesn't become about the victims. It becomes about their egos and all the crap that goes on behind it. And that sounds clearly that they had corruption.
I mean, this.
Thank you, subscribers.
I mean, this case had a lot of corruption because the former police chief was corrupted, and a lot of people. Yeah. I mean, a lot of them, they didn't want to investigate because some of them fear that he was involved, that he was actually the SK.
Right.
So it was almost like they were searching, but they were really not searching. So,
Right. And that's sad, right? It honestly is because, for me, it's about like doing a common goal. And it's about like, that's the whole point is like, you're doing this to find the killer, first of all. And it just blows me away that such either, obviously if it's corruption, but petty things get in the way of their egos and whatever. But obviously if you have a corrupt police chief officer, and stuff like that, like, it's just that we consistently see this in a lot of things, whether it was Karina McClurkin's case, whether it's Delphi, and it's actually a piss off because really, like I said, so other people probably died at the hands of Rex Heuermann because of all the bull crap that was going on. And like you said, like back in 2010, whatever, that, just lack of the coordination. And like I said, they don't want like kicking the FBI out. Like, what a joke on that. Like, wouldn't that said enough, to be honest with you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 'cause instantly you think, you're always, at least in my head, it's like the FBI, if you wanted to get the job done, you include the FBI in there, because they have the ability. And I think it was just Samantha that said, I want to know about the storage units. But at the end of the day, we're working on the storage units. But the thing is, it's kind of like the home, unless you have a drone going over there, they're doing it. Like, they're in all the different spots working. And they're just trying to, of course, keep certain things.
And also, I mean, the police didn't want, when I was there, they blocked completely because they said that they didn't want the press to see.
Right.
Yeah,
Can I ask you, Alexza? I heard a rumor, of course, and the rumor said there was no validation towards any of it, but that neighbors were speculating that remains had been excavated out of the backyard. Have you, as a local, heard those rumors?
I haven't heard that.
Like I said, I'm not giving credence to them.
I haven't heard that. The only thing I've heard is that he might have trophies and that they found, but I haven't heard anything about that. I even heard that about the storage unit too, because I know that forensics was calling to the unit, but who knows?
Do you believe he had trophies, Alexza?
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. Absolutely.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Just so for Alexza, because there are people that are new and subscribing, especially with this case. Can you just give people a background again about yourself and who you are? So we're just so used to having you on here, and I'll put criminal profiler Alexza or something like that in the title or whatever. But anyways, could you just do that again for people that don't know who you are?
I did criminologist, and I did a crime and intelligence behavior. Well, crime behavioral intelligence is technically the title. Criminal, and I specialize in graphology, handwriting analysis, not forensic though. I never did forensics. And body specialist, body language specialist. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just heard a bang. I don't know if it's here.
All good. Yeah.
So I did that for 16 years.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously Alexza, like this is her expertise here. Even though we know that doesn't mean that they're 100% accurate and everything, but that's just their career path.
Of
And they have
course.
more knowledge and stuff about how criminals are thinking, or again, the writing, the graphology,
Graphology.
graphology,
Mm-hmm.
graphology. Is it
Graphology.
tongue twister on that one? I don't know why for
Graphology.
some reason. But anyways, I know, is that with a TH or a P or an
P.
F?
P.
Okay, PH, right? Okay, graphology. Okay. And again, body language, I always look for those cues in myself, even though personally, like I'm not trained, but again, there people watching. Human behavior interests me. Um, I think I just grew up always interested in watching people talk, and if they were lying as they were talking to me, and always I would catch them. Like when my memory was really swift and I could remember everything that somebody said to me, basically like a photographic memory, but I would never claim that because I just know that I had a really good memory, and I would always just sit up here. And the minute someone lied to me, that red flag went off to go, wait, no. 2 years ago, I remember what you said to me. That always sits in my head. But as you get older, your brain doesn't work and you start needing to pull out sticky notes and notepads, and the brain just doesn't remember all those little fine details like it used to be. So I was always very much aware from a child that I had this knack for just seeing people for who they were in a sense, or at least the gist of them. And that's why I would always, determined if I liked you within a couple of minutes. Either you're a fake or you're really genuine, you know.
Well, it only takes 42 seconds.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Less is 42 seconds.
42 seconds. That's right.
Yeah. Just some people in this life, like myself, are just more in tune with other people's, like I'm in tune because I'm a deep empath. So I'm very much in tune with people's feelings, and like I said, although I find it a bit of a hindrance because I don't really enjoy feeling other people's pain. But I like the fact that I can definitely relate. Like I always look at everything as if the shoe was on the other foot. And that's why it hurts me when I think about Rex's wife, Asa, and the kids. It hurts me when I think of the impact. Just like even with that lying SOB, Carly Russell. Um, you know, I can't really sympathize with her too much because she blatantly, with cognizance, lied and made up a huge fix. Like, right? She pre-planned it. Okay, this isn't somebody that's trust me having issues. This is somebody that wanted some attention for whatever reason it was for, probably to do with a guy. Is my personal opinion, but regardless, it was a planned thing, and all I could think about was how dare you make your parents suffer that feeling of the thought that you could be dead. How dare you?
But you
Because
go back to a narcissist. A narcissist doesn't care about people's feelings. They just care what they do. They don't
they're
care
just
about
very
what
selfish
others
motivated.
feel.
Yeah,
They just
exactly.
feel gratification, them getting gratification, and not gratification to others.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you right now for me that Carly thinks that she's a great person. I think that Carly feels like she's a good person, but I think that there's a lot of people, if they knew her, would tell her differently. She feels like it's kind of like my older sister, who is an absolute self absorbed narcissistic personality. She thinks that she's a good person. No, you are not. The evil crap that she did does not make a good person. She is very self-centered, very whatever. And I think Carly is actually the same way. Carly is a princess, and she did this very immaturely without thinking it through, obviously. But I think that she was very cognizant of what she did, absolutely. But to bestow that type of pain on people, you know, you're selfish. You didn't care about the impact to anybody else of what you created. I don't give a crap, Carly, if you think that it blew out of proportion. It's because of your lies that it did, and this is what you call karma coming back at you. She probably didn't think the story would explode like this. But when you include a toddler in a situation, you've got everyone wanting to find, this that's worried about this toddler, which adds, you know what I mean? Just adds more pandemonium to this situation. But again, it's the impact of that I always think about as, like I said, being a deep carer. It's just about the impact that people put on other people, and you guys know that I can't stand trolls and I can't stand ignorant people that come into the chat because unlike how the police were working here in FBI, you're supposed to be there to help each other. You're there to resolve murders and crimes together instead of getting your egos into out of shit, whatever, out of whack and stuff like that. And it just always blows me away. How hard is it for people to be kind to each other, to realize that this isn't about them? It's their job to work together. It's their job to find these things. But by the same token, Alexza, I think it's really sad, by the same token, that the police force has to deal with individuals that are so sick and twisted like this, that go through life, have no care about somebody else's life, and do this. This is like beyond, obviously, just your odd, say, killer that has killed someone because they were maybe pissed and shot someone. This is somebody that literally lived a sick and twisted fantasy of theirs out and just didn't care about some other human being at all. Didn't care. Didn't give a shit. Yeah. Anyway, that's my thoughts.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I'll go to you next, Alexza, and then Aspen, and then we'll just wrap this up for the night because we're already at 2, 3, 4. But anyways, so just whatever. Any final thoughts on the whole case?
I
Because you've been.
mean, yeah, this case, it would be interesting to find what they're going to find, and I think it's going to be interesting how is it going to unfold. How, I guess, what they're going to find at home. I'm pretty sure they are going to find something. I think trophies. Hopefully, we'll get answers. I know that Rex has his first court date soon, like really soon, like within a week or so. So hopefully,
August 1st.
Yeah, August 1st.
Yeah. Hopefully, we'll get to see more information and hear, more details about this, because I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot on him.
Oh,
a lot.
Yeah, I think
A
so
lot.
too. Yeah. And Aspen, what about you?
I'm glued to the news that comes out about this case every day, and I think that we really have just gotten the tip of the iceberg as far as the level of malicious deviance that Rex Heuermann probably has exhibited in his life. I think things are going to be trickling out for a very long time about this guy and the torture he's inflicted on people. That's just what my gut tells me.
Well, I was going to say as well. So, although he's been charged with 3 murders and they're still waiting to charge him with the 4th, do they believe that he still was part of those other ones, or at least a couple of them more?
I don't think so.
I'm sure they're looking at them.
I think that,
I'm
yeah,
sure
but I think they were killed in a different manner. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to do DNA, but I think they're just focused on this 3 possible 4.
Doesn't it seem strange, though?
Right. Well, someone asked
like-
earlier. I mean, because he's an age that he physically could have committed all of them. Someone had asked earlier, Alexza, do you think that he could be connected to the unsolved crimes in Atlantic City?
Oh yeah, I remember. I forgot. I think it was Viper or Mustang. A Mustang that answer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Was it
sorry about that.
Mustang or
It
Daisy?
could be. It could be. Yeah. But I mean, again, we will have to see. I mean, I don't know much. I don't know how they were found and everything, because that will depend. I mean, is it possible? Yes. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know much. I mean, I would have to see the similarities. I mean, by definition, yes, it is possible.
Right.
But I don't know if he would be so traveling here and there. I don't know.
Well, like Adam said, just like Mr. Richard Allen, you don't just usually come out of the woodwork at a certain age when you're older.
Usually not. No, usually not. Usually,
Right.
yes, case no. But with Richard, I do believe that he did that was his only one.
Right. And I think there are personality differences in the two that are actually good examples. If you want to place examples of someone that does possibly start causing or creating homicides in their 40s or 50s versus someone that probably has started younger, because I feel like their motivations and the paths they are on are completely different. And I'm not saying Richard Allen didn't commit crimes prior. I look at Richard Allen and Rex as very opposite types of perpetrators.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Rex is in the line of BTK and all those ones on that side of the fence.
Brian Koberger, had he been given the opportunity to keep going?
Yeah,
possibly.
Brian Koberger, is going to be on the BTK side of the fence. But Richard Allen is more. I still believe that Richard Allen is like this is his first time, but there's, like I said, maybe one day we'll find out the actual answers to why this all happened to Abby and Libby.
Yeah,
but
I feel like that would have been more of a disassociative type event, but
But anyways, you guys. Yeah, what is today? Monday?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Our next live is going to be on Friday. Unless there's something important and I feel like doing a live or something like that just for the sake of it, or if Adam feels like doing a live just for the sake of it.
Keegan Klein's sentencing is Thursday.
Is what day?
Thursday.
Oh, is that Mustang? Isn't that your birthday? The third. I thought it was the 27th. You're right. So I guess we'll be doing definitely a live on the 27th. Right. I always have it in my head that his is the 31st. For some reason, I keep having it in my head that the 31st was the day.
And what is this for? Who?
Kegan Kline.
What is it?
It's his sentencing. It's his sentencing.
Oh, he's sentencing.
Hopefully, the last time we ever have to hear Kegan Kline's name again. Hopefully,
that's going to be interesting.
Is sentenced and goes to serve his time and is forgotten by everyone in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Every now and again, maybe Kelly will send him some Twinkies.
I just think that's what he deserves.
Anyways, again, so we will be covering that, of course, you guys, on Thursday. Lucky you, Mustang, eh? You get to have the same date as your birthday as Kegan Kline's sentencing. What a celebration.
We should make her a Twinkie cake.
Yeah, right? Anyways, thank you so much, Alexza. Again, first to your mom. Are you going to go see her in the morning again? I guess.
Yeah, I'll go in the morning.
Yeah. Well,
thank you.
I'm glad that she had her surgery and fixed her issue that was going on, and hopefully, again, now she's on her way to recovery. When does your stepdad get back in?
I don't know if it's Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know. I don't know if he said Thursday their time or he meant he's coming Wednesday, but I don't know.
This is where I can truly appreciate, though, the way that technology has advanced. Remember the day when it was just rotary phones and there was no cell phone, but now you can FaceTime people, even if you're not there. Yeah, no, Adam, you're so young. I know that you forget that you're not really aware of that stuff, but yeah, but this is where I do appreciate technology, that we can literally, like I didn't want my husband sitting with me when I was in the hospital, a couple years ago there. I just was like, go home and you're tired, whatever. And we just talked on FaceTime and stuff like that. Right. Because I just didn't want him sitting in those uncomfortable chairs, just watching me fall asleep, wake up, and then whatever. I mean, yeah, do I love him there? Of course, but that would be a selfish side. The side that, you know, is more of when the unselfish love is go back home. You know, I'll talk to you on FaceTime. That way you can rest up properly. But anyways, you guys have a great night. Thank you again to all the new subscribers that are coming along. We're at like 95:43. We're going to kick over that 10K. So if you do happen to see this live or whatever and you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing.
Right.
And thank you guys. Thanks, Alexza.
Thank you, Daisy, for the donation.
Daisy did. Oh, sorry, Daisy. My bad. I knew somebody did. And thank you, Daisy. Yes, for that $1 million donation. I couldn't have asked for anything less, to be honest with you. No. Good night, all. Good night, Sharon Parker. Anyways,
good night,
have a good
Sheldon.
night, you
Thank you.
guys. Yeah, take care. And outro time. This is Sunny Justice and Aspen Connor from It's a Crime and Shame, wishing you all a good night.